Betty, bring me everyone.
What do you mean, everyone?
Everyone! I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
Let me explain something to you. I am not Mr. Lebowski. You're Mr. Lebowski. I'm the dude.
No one is to stone anyone until I blow this whistle.
You can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Hello and welcome to Zedos Gang podcast number. Anyone got a clue?
109?
109 maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know. Joe doesn't help me out. Anyway, all right. Without further ado, on today's podcast, we'll be talking about Death of the Nile, Star Wars, Borat 2, and much more on the Zedos Gang. Today, I'm joined with my loyal, trusty person in Nile Coppin.
Cracking.
Say hi, Neil. And Kenan Akbulut.
Howdy, people.
And joining us today is John Wright from the Krylo Ren podcast. Want to cry about the Star Wars sequels? Go to John.
Yeah, no,
check his
never
podcast
cry about
out.
the prequels.
Yeah, you can't badmouth the prequels in front of John. He's a prequel defender. Yeah.
Can't badmouth the prequels anymore, period.
yeah.
They were like, oh, what about the prequels? And someone just goes, Rise of Skywalker.
Exactly.
Oh man, but yeah, coming up first, you guys see Sophia Coppola's On the Rock starring Bill Murray. What do you guys think of the trailer? And yeah,
I mean, well, to me, like just briefly because I watched the trailer. I just thought it just seems like a feel-good sort of film, like one of those. Yeah, you follow like the guys go through some hardships, and in the end they'll probably come out of it all right, feeling closer and together. And yeah, in these COVID times, that's probably it's a good film to come out. Really, we need some more good feel-good films. I think this year.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Sophia Coppola, obviously, her and Bill Murray, they had great success with Lost in Translation. Bill Murray seems quite on form in this. Be interesting to know how much maybe he's ad-libbed. There seems like a few little moments in the trailer where that might have been the case. Rashida Jones, I just love. I think she's a brilliant actress. She's mainly known for her comedy roles. She was fabulous in The Office, and then she did her own show where she was like a police detective. It was very much like the Naked Gun style.
Okay.
Like comedy and stuff like that. And I thought that she was fantastic in that. And it's got Marlon Wayans in it as well. And it's like a serious role for him, which is a bit, the kind of the departed from what he's normally used to doing. How much your actual screen time you'll have in it, who knows? But yeah, it just seems like a father-daughter relationship comedy, heartfelt, warming thing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Looks like it's for Apple TV. It's like an Apple movie, but looks like it'll be a feel-good film.
Neil?
Does Apple do a lot of movies?
They are starting to now.
Trying to take over that Netflix Disney Plus spot. Just be like, nah.
Yeah, they're being quite aggressive as well with it as well. I've noticed because they seem to be going after the
past, like grabbing actors and people. Like what was the one with Tom Hanks, Greyhound?
Yeah, well, that was due for a cinema release, but because it got pulled, basically Apple was the highest bidder, and they grabbed it. So it was never intended for them. So, but they kind of distributed it.
Period.
Is Greyhound any good? I've not seen it.
No, I've not seen it myself.
I heard good things from people, but I've not seen it. No one's seen it here. Okay, cool. I really liked the trailer. I thought it was pretty good. Well, to be quite honest, I'm biased because anything Bill Murray's in, I generally kind of gravitate to. Even if it's rubbish, he's always good in it. And, he picks his scripts and his projects very carefully. So generally, there's like an air of quality anyway, regardless. Sophia Coppola, the only bad thing she's ever been associated with is Godfather Part 3 when she tried to act.
You're
But
gonna say
you know,
that.
we could definitely say her skills are much better behind the camera. I mean, like Virgin Suicide, she gave what's his face, Hayden Christensen, one of his greatest roles ever in that film. You know, and if anyone says man can't act, you need to watch like Virgin Suicides. Just stay and watch other films, man. And like, yeah, man. I mean, yeah, I like the whole detective angle. Let's go catch him out to see if like he's cheating on you and whatnot, because that's what I would do. I kind of thought that was pretty funny, and like I think Bill Murray's definitely perfectly cast in this role, kind of thing. So yeah, I can't wait to see it. And again, A24 showing that they are the king of independent cinema, picking the right talents, pimping out the best shit. Because every time I see that logo, it's always a good film. They know the filmmakers they want, you know, the new filmmakers to pick. And I'm totally digging this project. Apple again, as we just discussed, like being a major, you know, I actually think they are really looking at being the next big thing with Netflix and HBO and Disney Plus, because HBO and Disney Plus, yeah, they've got their franchises, etc. But it looks like Apple are really grabbing the independent cinema, if that makes sense, and a lot more of the top tier directors like Scorsese, etc. to pull people in. So they're just going after a different market, I feel.
Well, that's the thing, is I think with Apple, it's probably the case of they kind of have no choice, which I mean it in a good way, because it's like you look at Disney can be like, oh, Disney Plus, we're like, oh, well, hey, everything Disney.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and it's how many films, how many TV shows, how many cartoons, all of that is just there.
Yeah.
Netflix has been scooping up, you know, the rights for this TV show or the rights for that TV show, and Amazon Prime doing the same. It's sort of like the cherry picking moment of cherry picking this TV show that everybody already loves, and that movie that everybody already loves is kind of come and gone. So Apple's outlook is like, well, okay, we'll just make our own stuff, or we'll just, you know, we'll invest in the market that you guys have left behind because you wanted this big franchise.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, moving forward. You guys checked the Ravage trailer?
I did.
Yep. Thoughts?
Yeah. It's weird because it's got like two titles, so it's like in certain parts it's Ravage, and in other parts it's Swing Low.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Which actually makes, when I saw the title Swing Low and then I watched the trailer, I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I actually watched this with the other half, and she was really intrigued by the trailer. You know, her comments were, you know, she doesn't seem to be like your typical bimbo in distress. You know, and you know, she's not glammed up at all. You know, she's sort of rustic and gritty. You know, she's out there, you know, taking her pictures, and then she's captured, and they're not trying to, like make her look hot and then trying to get out of the situation. She's not, you know, she's been thrown in a situation where she's just trying to get out of it and survive. And yeah, I quite dug it actually. And she was like, yeah, it's definitely something that I would watch. So yeah, I think that can appeal to quite a few people. Probably not a box office smash, but you know, be one of those where on a streaming service or you know, on demand kind of thing, is something you could do quite well.
Yeah. So everyone from that, I did like that as well. That it's like a gritty sort of woman hero character instead of your glamorous woman hero character. There's not enough of those type of films that come out. I remember a time when there was like this. Maybe it was like early 2000s when there was a lot of that stuff, like things like I Spit on Your Grave and stuff like that were coming out. And
yeah,
I mean, they were extreme. Some of them were like really, really extreme as well. But like those type of women sort of main protagonists just don't happen like sort of in the last like 5 years or so. So maybe it's just like DC and Marvel like taking over movies in general. But yeah, it's just nice to see a sort of a gritty sort of strong woman character as opposed to your usual stuff.
Yeah, and I think the stuff that's kind of like you said, there was a period where you kind of got some of those like maybe like horror movies and stuff. I think one was like Wolf or something like that. There was that one set out in Australia and stuff. You know, so, yeah.
Wolf
you know, so you have those, but then recently is more about the glamorous, the well-trained, the experienced, you know, like if you look like Atomic Blonde and stuff like that. So there's female-centric movies where there's a lot of action and stuff like that. Yeah, they're highly trained, highly professional. So, you know, getting back to that kind of gritty thing is, yeah, it's on point, I think.
Yeah. As well, because there was a movie that came out that was a little bit similar to it. I think it was called Revenge.
Mm-hmm.
And but it was exactly like you said, Ken. It was the thing of, you know, here's a glamorous, you know, I think it was the glamorous girl. I think it was, you know, this is the girl that, you know, she's in this situation partly because of her looks, because of the fact that she's attractive. These guys have taken her to wherever they've taken her, and that's what's got her caught up in this. Whereas this film, it's like she stumbled into this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's a good thing. And I'm like, for the most part, I'm like, you know, it's got Bruce Dern in it. That's good enough.
Yeah, exactly. He looks creepy as hell in it. Yeah, I just had a look at Revenge and Matilda Lutz, and I can see what you mean. It's like, yeah, ripped shirt. It looks like she's in hot pants, you know, like even a bikini outfit here. And yeah, it's very much more of a glamorized thing as opposed to the gritty side of it.
I really hope that it doesn't devolve into some sort of sexual, like, I hope like they don't add rape or anything like that, to be honest. Like, it gets overdone, to be honest. I just hope they just stick to sort of, just stick to the action, like, just stick to what it was like in the trailer. I hope they just don't go too deep into like issues and stuff like that.
To be honest, there was a part of the trailer where I was actually watching it and I was like, is he raping her? So you may not get your wish.
Yeah, I mean, Bruce Dern looks really creepy in this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's being directed by Teddy Grennan, I think his name is. This is actually his first feature, so it's quite low budget. By the looks of it, he's produced other films before, like 4 other films before, but this is literally his first feature. He's not done any shorts or anything prior by the looks of it on IMDb, unless he's keeping them hidden off the interwebs. But be interesting to see, because the trailer really stood out. I felt I'm a sucker for a good thriller, and yeah, it'll be good to see what the overall product is when it comes out. So next up, we have The Death of the Nile. The latest Inspector, what's his name? Crusoe?
Poirot.
Oh, it's Poirot. Sorry. Whoops, my brother would kill me. He's a big fan of like the original, what's it, David Suchet? David Suchet ones. I quite like The Orient Express. I thought Kenneth Branagh did it different enough from David Suchet, who's synonymous with the role. I liked his tash. That was interesting. French accent was pretty good. I think for me, the standout is Gal Gadot being in it. I think she hasn't been synonymous really with acting, so to speak. I mean, like prior Wonder Woman, like she was great in Wonder Woman, but for that kind of movie, it's not really about the acting, you know, and the performance, maybe in places. And I felt with that film, they played to her strengths, if that makes sense. And Patty Jenkins is a fantastic actor's director that she managed to pull a performance out of her. Prior stuff before, she was just there to look good in the Fast and Furious films and stuff, and she was a model before. So I think for her, this is a career move in general to work with someone like Kenneth Branagh, who is who has a huge background with actors and theater and stuff. Hopefully she'll shine in this, and not only this, go on to do a lot more dramatic roles, and you know what I mean, just like hopefully she'll learn a lot from working with him. In general, I like the look of it. I like a bit of mystery, and yeah, I quite enjoyed the last one. So yeah, we'll see what Kenneth Branagh brings to this one. I just hope that Disney doesn't kill off it as a franchise, because I know like Kenneth Branagh was looking to expand it and do all the books. So hopefully, bro, I'm not too sure. That's a question for my bro. So
I think
there's quite a lot. There's quite a few. Yeah, I mean that TV show went on for fucking ever, man.
I mean, I'm a fan. I did like this one. So you go.
think I mean, I didn't watch the Orient Express, but you know, Kenneth Branagh. It's Kenneth Branagh. You know, I'm like, I can't. When it comes to period stuff, I feel like Kenneth Branagh can't really do wrong. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I watched the trailer and I was intrigued by the cast. Not so much Gal Gadot, more like seeing Letitia Wright in it.
Oh yeah.
But I was just like, okay. But because I don't know the storyline, I don't know if it's a big deal that she's in it or not. Mm-hmm. I just think for me it was just, oh, that's interesting. But yeah, I mean, I imagine it will be great. And to be honest, I can't imagine Disney killing it off, because I think this is something that, I mean, you were, like you said, Sash, right? Poirot was on TV for generations, so I can't imagine the kind of appeal I believe it has. I can't imagine that appeal, Disney being like, oh, that's not big enough, bye. You know, I mean, the casting alone that they're putting into it, it means like, okay, you know, you're really taking this seriously. I partly just don't think Disney will like turn a blind eye to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. I haven't seen Murder on the Orient Express yet. I remember seeing that trailer and thinking, oh wow, it's a great cast of actors. But then it kind of was just forgotten, and I just didn't think about going around seeing it. I know I've downloaded it to watch, but just haven't got around to doing it. For me, this trailer was more style over any kind of substance. Yeah, it's got a fantastic cast. You know, Gal Gadot, you know, she's very much sort of like for the visual as a first point of call. So we'll have to see what her acting can bring to it. Armie Hammer, I think he's always good. I think he's quite underrated, and I just don't think he often gets a lot of roles that he probably would deserve. But yeah, it's got a fantastic cast. Lita Wright from Black Panther. It's got Annette Bening. It's got quite a few of the British talents in there. So it's got Russell Brand, French and Saunders. So yeah,
that was a revelation, you know, seeing Russell Brand there, because I was like, the way he looks, I was just like,
yeah, right, very, very different.
Damn.
I'm actually surprised they actually got him out to film anything, because these days he's not really on that. You know what I mean? He's kind of like fuck Hollywood kind of thing, and
it's just doing this. It's probably because of who's in it and the type of movie it is.
Oh yeah, probably.
You know, but I mean, having a quick look, it looks like Poirot books. There's like 47 of them. Something. So,
we 47 films.
Yeah, I doubt that.
Yeah, so I think they'll pick and choose. But yeah, it didn't really get me excited. There wasn't really enough for me in this one. There wasn't. It's like there's suspense and murder because he's told me so in the voiceover. There's nothing visually that kind of grabbed me suspense-wise. So, so yeah, for me, it's a bit of a pass, really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about this film, but I'm excited about it because of Murder on Orient Express. I really enjoyed that film. I agree with the trailer. I don't think this trailer was that good for what its actual content is, because Death on the Nile is one of the more it's more of the more famous Poirot books. So yeah, it's actually got a really good murder mystery story, and me and my partner, we always love that murder mystery sort of thing. So yeah, I'm excited about it because I already watched the first film, and the first film is actually a really decent first watch. I don't think it's like decent past that, but yeah, it's a good film when you first watch it. So yeah, I'll definitely watch this one time for sure.
Is it wrong that I kind of feel like I'm more impressed with the poster than that trailer?
Yeah.
Like the poster was dope, and I was like, I see the ship, and it was like seeing the obviously the red cloud is to indicate smoke. But I was like, damn, that's a good poster.
Yeah, I think, like I said, even visually, the trailer looked gorgeous, and you know that timepiece and stuff, you know, is very much set in a time period, and that looks great. And I think a lot of actors probably enjoy making those type of movies. So it has like this classic element to it. But it's interesting to see, you know, how well you guys enjoyed the Orient Express. So we'll have to see what this does. It's the star power that will bring it in. I just don't know whether Kenneth Branagh is a big enough name for Poirot to keep the franchise going. So as much as certain people will love him and know him, a lot of people won't. It won't be that much of a draw. I personally would have probably tried to cast somebody else in these reboots, but that's just me.
Bit hard when he's the writer director of them, eh?
Yeah. He can write and direct, but he doesn't have to be greedy and star in it as well. Man wants triple paycheck. You know, it's like he can direct someone else, but you know, he wasn't Thor, so you know. But,
I'm surprised he didn't cast himself as Odin, man, and got in on that
true, actually,
mad
that
Marvel
is true.
money. That was the thing, though, because he did the first Thor, and they wanted him for the second, but he wanted them to have more time to develop the script, and they weren't. They didn't want to give him that time, and wow, their movie turned out great. And I say that with sarcasm, but you know. Okay, moving along. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, the remake. Will Smith, Kevin Hart. Yeah, it's the movie we all wanted. Hey.
I have been asking for this since Dread 2. No, I don't have an issue with it. I don't. Planes, Trains, and Automobile is a good film. It doesn't mean a great deal to me. Maybe because of the time I watched it, and it didn't have this huge impact to me. It's a very enjoyable movie, but I think if you have this road trip buddy comedy thing, it's either going to be that's a rip-off, so they're just saying, well, it's a remake, you know. So you can't really have much original content on this road buddy movie now. They tried to do a little bit with
Due Date.
What's it called? Californicanis and Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, that's it. And you know, it's just a different version of that. So I personally don't have an issue with it. It depends if they're going to go. They're not obviously going beat by beat because they're getting someone in to write it. So I think they're just taking more of that element. So personally, I don't have an issue, and I think seeing Will Smith and Kevin Hart together would actually be quite fun. So
I don't know. I'm really, really like on the fence for this because on one hand, I feel like even though the original movie doesn't, like you said, Kenneth, it's not like it doesn't mean much to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think the aura around it means a lot to me. So the fact that, you know, it's connections to John you know, it's the fact that it's got John Candy in it. It's connection to why can't I remember his name? Like one of the
Steve
greatest.
Martin.
No, not Steve Martin. The writer director.
Oh, John Hughes.
Thank you, John Hughes.
John Hughes.
You know, it's like it's connections to John Hughes. It's, you know, like I feel like the John Hughes, any movie that he ever wrote or he directed, I feel like that, you know, you need to put it in a box and be like, this cannot be touched unless for the right reasons, you know, because it's, even if it's one of his, when I say lesser works, I mean lesser known works or lesser beloved works. It's, you know, you're, you know, I mean, it's like somebody was turning around and say, "Oh yeah, we're remaking Ferris Bueller's Day Off." Like, I'm like they, you know, look, man, people have been murdered for less. So it's just, it's tough. And, you know, when I hear the words Plane, Trains and Automobiles, I literally just see the poster. I just see the cover. I see John Candy. I see Steve Martin. And I just think, yeah. And the last time there was a remake of a film that had Steve Martin in it, it was quite bad. It was quite bad.
Is that Pink Panther?
No.
That last one? Oh, no.
It was quite a bad movie. I felt quite ashamed of myself for it. And it's quite disgusting. But then again, if I hadn't seen Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, I may not feel the same. If I didn't love Dirty Rotten Scoundrels the way I do, I may have enjoyed it. But I was just sitting there watching it and I was like, boy, I'm never getting this time back.
Anyone else? No?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I did this film is before my time, so I'm not sure what the story is. But yeah, having Will Smith and Kevin Hart, yeah, might be fun.
Who do you play? Who do you think will play who? Do you think Will Smith will play the straight guy?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Is the weird thing is, I can see either one in either role because like seeing Will Smith as the straight one and seeing Kevin Hart as the wacky one, I'm like, it works. It's but then again, because of this is sound bad, because of the size difference between Will Smith and Kevin Hart, I feel like Kevin Hart as the straightforward one, the straight arrow, straight-laced guy who's just like, are you really going to do this crazy shit now?
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't seen Will Smith like really wild out in quite a while.
Mm-hmm. That would be the unexpected way,
Yeah,
I think that would be a little bit more intriguing, but I think they'll play to strengths, and I think a lot more of the physical, but they're both capable of physical comedy. They're both capable of doing either way, in terms of the straight and the goofball kind of thing. But I think it would be funnier if Kevin Hart played the straight guy.
Mm.
Yeah, me too.
So Sacha, you've got thoughts on this, I know.
Man, I got thoughts on it, but I think you guys have all laid it out, to be honest. I'm not digging this at all, man. It's like, leave a fucking classic alone, man. That film comes on every year on TV. It's still jokes now.
Wasn't it on recently? I feel like it was on TV within the last...
Yeah, but I mean, here's the thing. Like you said, John Hughes fucking comedies, leave them the fuck alone, because you know what, very soon they'll be remaking Clerks and Mallrats and shit like that, and then I really will roll in my grave before I fucking die and shit. Okay, like seriously, it's like leave the shit alone. I know my man kicked the bucket a few years ago, but like, Jesus Christ, why fucking do it? I mean, come on, you've got Will Smith and Kevin Hart. Okay, you don't need to remake some fucking old shit with these two fucking guys. Write a decent script. And what angers me more about this is it's not like someone wrote a script and it was genuinely a good script and they were like, it's worthy of a reboot because this script is that fucking tight. No, it's not. It is basically a paint by numbered Hollywood fucking bullshit thing where someone's like, you know what needs a remake? Plane, Trains, and Automobiles. Okay, I'm gonna get someone to write the script, and then I'm gonna get the biggest movie star of all time and the funniest comedian that's hot at the moment. I mean, Ayesha Carr is, she's a good writer. She's a good writer.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine, man, that's one of my favorite shows.
Yeah, totally. Same here. And she can do no wrong in comedy. But the thing is, this isn't like a screenplay that someone was like, I've got an idea, I'm going to slave over it like the original. You know what I mean? And have Steve Martin do his thing with the ad-libs. You know what I mean? This is literally a product of, we need to make a film somehow. They don't have no script, man. You know what I mean? They don't have no script. They got no ideas. You know what they need to do? They need to just have a concept, turn around to Kevin Hart, have him be the funny guy and go, yo, ad-lib. Okay? Because this is a problem with Kevin Hart. I love Kevin Hart as a stand-up comedian. His movies, not so much. There's been a couple, I like the Jumanji films. I like the chemistry him and The Rock have. But I don't think they've had the fire of the comedy that we expect as an audience, if that makes sense. You can see the chemistry, but
it's because they're friends off screen.
Yeah, exactly.
Into it more.
But it's the chicken isn't cooked yet. You know what I mean? But the thing is, it's kind of like, let Kevin Hart do what Kevin Hart does, and then maybe we can get these comedies that we got from the 80s, where you let the comedian do what they want and have the straight guys stick to the script or react off the damn comedian, you know what I mean, rather than have it fucking work. This is one of the beauties of why Eddie Murphy movies worked back in the early days, because he ad-libbed. He fucking ad-libbed. He didn't memorize lines and dialogues, you know what I mean, but then they started paying him extra so that he could memorize this shit. And then what happened? We got fucking bullshit, and then fucking we got bullshit for years because Eddie was getting paid, and then he does Dolomite Is My Name, and I'm like, yo, there's the guy I grew up with. And then you see him doing stand-up, cussing out fucking Bill Cosby at a fucking award show, and then it's like, there's the guy has still got it. And the best thing about Eddie Murphy, he knows what he did, he's admitted what he's did, and you know what, we're gonna have a fucking renaissance of Eddie Murphy soon, and I cannot wait. But you know what, Kevin Hart needs to play the game. Well, I don't know, maybe they're paying him bare money, and I get it. But at the same time, it's like, why remake shit? Make new shit. You guys are two big movie stars. We'll go watch whatever you guys are in. Don't fucking, you know what I mean? I got friends that fucking love this movie.
It's easy that, to keep saying, this is one of those things about, oh, why aren't we getting original movies? How many new ideas can you come up with for a movie? I'm not saying you personally, but what I'm saying.
Yeah, I was going to say, wow.
I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm not putting you on the spot because I know you've got some original ideas.
I got some.
I know.
Original ideas. You're talking to the wrong guy.
No, exactly. But the average person is just like, but they don't really know what they want. They want something new, but they can't tell you exactly what it is they want. They just want to see something new. And to be honest, the thousands of movies that are out there, they will remake stuff, and they'll tweak it, they'll adjust it, make it relevant for the time.
Remake a shit movie. That's what I say. Remake a shit movie. That's what, you know what? I'm going to say something. This isn't that controversial. I've said this on the podcast bare times, actually, with Joe. Ocean's 11. All you motherfuckers didn't know what the fuck that was, okay? And then when the movie came out, everyone started IMDbing it and finding out, oh, there was a Sinatra one. That's a classic. Have you seen the Sinatra one? It's a piece of shit movie. All right. And that's the reason why Steven Soderbergh remade that movie. He was like, let's take a movie that should have delivered. It had all the star power because it had the Rat Pack, and let's actually try and make a decent version. And literally, if you look at it, none of those guys, do you know how much they all got paid? They all did it for $5, all the actors, and then they took royalties off of the box office, each and every one of them, to be in that movie. They did it for the love of it, and then they took the piss with the sequels. But that's a separate story. That's a different kettle of fish. But that first remake of Ocean's 11, that fucking delivered. Why? Because, they wrote a script, they knew what they were doing. This is just fucking factory.
But we don't know how different this is going to be, so I know the original was a classic. They're not just saying we've got 2 stars. They're like, actually, no, we've got a writer. This is their credentials. And so that gives me a little bit more hope than the fact that it's going to be something slightly different.
It didn't exist in the first place. It's not something that exists. They're still writing it. They've just started writing it. It's not even that they've looked at it and said this, you know what I mean? Like that's,
but sometimes you do get that, you do bank on the cards first. You try and get 2 people who are going to work together, and they're like, yeah, we're happy to work together. And it could be that they're going to be given license to ad-lib, on the basis of, because they haven't seen a script, either they're just doing it for the pay, or they're like, actually, you're going to have a lot of freedom, and you guys are just going to be able to play off each other and do what, have some flexibility, but we're going to give you your key points that you need to hit. That may be the reason, but otherwise,
on the plus side though, changing it, reverse side from what I think, you could probably do a lot with the concept. You know what I mean? Setting it in a modern day rather than the 80s. My only problem with it is that, fair enough, you missed your train or your plane, or you got a car. We have mobile phones now.
Yeah,
Uber it, done. But you know what I mean? That's just it. And if you've lost your phone, hell, you just go up to the nearest person and go, hey, bruv, can I borrow your phone? Can you get me a cab? Here's some money. Boom, done. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think they did the concept most recently, like, even though it wasn't a remake, it was close enough with Due Date. That was more or less the same fucking film in concept wise. Yeah. I don't know how you can change it any different to Due Date, to be honest, unless they build the characters up. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see.
One of the reasons why they just took the idea and they're like, we're going to have someone write it, because of the fact of, when you update something from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, even the 90s to today, does become so difficult because, you know, it's like, oh, in the 80s, oh, someone's missed their train. Right, you can't just go to an internet cafe and just boom, 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 bam, here's my new ticket, boom, or use your phone to do it or something, you know. It's, you're going to have to make that situation meld. But to touch on what you said, Ken, in regards to like original ideas and that, I think a lot of it comes from two massive problems. One is the fear of a new idea.
Yeah.
I think like film studios, whether they're, especially when they're major, obviously like not so much with independent film studios, but mainly with major film studios, everything comes down to them. It's a business, film business, movie business. It's the bottom line. And they're like, you bring me something that is going to make money, I'll invest in it. You bring me something that is going to be here and it's the perfect dedication of art, I'm going to ask you, how much does it cost? And if it's going to cost me money that I know I'm possibly not going to recoup, I ain't interested. But the second problem is that a lot of the time, when people have to pitch, when you think of like a person trying to pitch a movie, a lot of the times it's either you hit it off with a really simple sentence, you know, or you say it's like what would happen if this film and this film had a love child.
Yeah.
And then it's like immediately it's like, oh, okay. Or, you know, it's going to be, it's going to be Die Hard in the White House. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. And then what do? When they come to make the film, they're just going to market it as that. Right? Even if the film's totally different or whether it's totally the same, that the idea is just like, we need familiarity. We need to have it as, oh, this is familiar to something that we know you already love, so you should love this. Oh, you love Die Hard, you'll love this. Oh, you loved Star Wars, you'll love this. Oh, you loved, you know, The Matrix, you'll love this. And it's like, even if the film there's no, like, nothing that interlinks these two properties, it's just like, just the fact that they're familiar to one another is a good enough reason.
That's the whole Netflix's business, is their algorithm. You know, it's like, you watch this, you're like this. And so when they make their hits, they see what kind of things, oh, okay, we need to make more of that content. We need to make more of that content. So yeah, studios will do exactly the same. They're not in it for the love, you know? So new ideas will go through the independents. They'll go on the lower budgets. Otherwise, you need it to be based on a previous existing franchise, a remake, like a crossover, or it needs to be based on a book. You know, it needs to come from something. So, but then, you know, occasionally, you know, the directors are given something which are a little bit different. You know, you could take something like Get Out, you know, and but that wouldn't have had a huge budget. But, you know, they marketed it and they did well with it once they saw the product. So sometimes they'll give it to somebody, but then it's like, oh, okay, you did well with this, right? Now go and produce Candyman. Now remake this. Now remake that. So anytime somebody does make something original, they'll then use that publicity to then remake something else. Anyway, we'll have to see.
Completely right. Really, to be honest, like, you could just look at the movies out this year and next year, and it's just like that point is vindicated straight away. So
yeah. I mean, even remaking Justice League, how many 2 years after the other one?
That's needed and necessary.
Is it though? Is it?
I agree. I'm with you on this, Neil.
That's properties.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you.
Moving on, by the way, I think it's a terrible idea, but that's just me. Moving on. Pedro Pascal joins Nicolas Cage in the film The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent over at Lionsgate.
Have you heard the concept of this movie?
Yeah, I read about this.
I don't know what's
going to be so good.
When I hear it, I don't know what to do. Like you can't. I'm like, generally, no one surprises me, and everyone surprises me when they're like, oh, this person's going to be in it. Like they can turn around and be like, yeah, it's going to have Bill Murray, Kevin Hart, and Arnold Schwarzenegger in it, and I was just be like, okay, because it was like, the sheer nature of what the film is about is enough to just be like, I accept anything and everything you throw at me in this film.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I
just
think
to
it's
say
gonna be
Nick
quality.
Cage is playing a heightened version of himself, you're like, holy shit.
And I'm like, how high do you need him to get?
Exactly. Nick Cage being Nick Cage is enough. He doesn't need to go further. But yeah, I mean, for the listeners out there, basically, you're going to have Nick Cage playing like this actor. And he has a super fan who just happens to be like this drug cartel leader. Who wants him to appear at like his birthday party or his daughter's birthday party or something like that. And then Nick Cage eventually ends up working for the CIA to take down this drug cartel leader. And Pascal's going to be potentially the drug cartel guy as Javi. So yeah, that's the kind of thing in it. Then the Cage's character's got like an ex-wife and a daughter who get caught up in it. Where obviously Nick Cage has got 4 ex-wives, but yeah, it's just it sounds quite off the chain, to be honest. And it'd be interesting to see if they do it as a comedy, they play it straight, or they're going to play it straight tongue in cheek, just like with a nod to the camera, just like we know how crazy this is, but just roll with it.
Please, Lord, play it straight, just for the people sitting there being like, you're taking this seriously. And I'm
like Machete or something like that, just take it serious, man.
Yeah, that'd be quality. Yeah.
So, John, what do you think?
So when I like heard when I read about it, I was just like, just every part of it, I was smiling, like for the whole thing. Like, what? Who wrote this? Like, who made this up? Who came up with this idea? Like, but yeah, I like it. I think it's just different. It's just something different, like an actor playing himself. Like, and I read it like that. Like to avoid death, he has to like do his like recreate his like most famous scenes like at some point in this party as well. So yeah, I'm just waiting to see him like boggle his eyes and do his stuff and like just I can't wait. Seriously, like that. It just looks like it's just going to be just a laugh, just a pure laugh. Yeah. I can't wait for that.
As long as I see Castor Trey at some point, I'm good.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. I mean, like in the movie, he's talking to his younger self, who's like having a go at him for making loads of crappy movies, and like he's
taxes.
Yeah. And he's trying. And he's trying desperately to be cast in a Quentin Tarantino movie. I mean, like, hell, if they can get Quentin Tarantino,
it's a cameo. That'd be amazing.
That would be amazing, man. But it sounds pretty fun and off the chain, man. Yeah. And it looks like it's the director Tom Gormican. I can't pronounce his name. I butchered that guy's name like I do everyone else's. But he did a movie called That Awkward Moment. With Zac Efron and Michael B. Jordan. That was a pretty cool low budget indie they did. So, having something like this, which, is kind of mid range because of who's in it and stuff, and about as wacky as it gets, sounding like an independent film, it sounds fucking amazing, man. I can't wait to see this. And it sounds refreshing and new and not rehashed, and doesn't have Kevin Hart or Will Smith. And I can't wait for it. So
I mean, what I'd actually prefer is I'd probably prefer him to play Nick Cage, because I think he's playing an actor. I don't think he's playing himself necessarily.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
He should.
But that's what I want. I want him to play himself. And then what I want to see is a little bit like in This Is the End trailers for other movies, like direct to DVD, like Con Air 2 or something like that. I want to see like these makeshift trailers. They're going in the background and stuff like that. I think that'd be amazing.
You should have him cameo as like his version of Superman in there as well.
I imagine it's probably just the rights to these films, which is probably
that'd be the issue.
Not playing Nicholas, but it wouldn't surprise me if the character's name is Nick or Nicholas.
Yeah.
A bit like Charlie Sheen, where he's called Charlie in every one of his fucking roles. It's like, come on, man! Like, can't anyone create like another character name for him?
It's probably because he's high all the time. He needs to be called the same name, otherwise he won't come onto set.
Okay. Tara Manning will star in writer-director Coke Daniels' thriller about Karen. Now, guys, yeah, I don't get this Karen thing, okay? Because like I've seen like memes. I'll write a comment on Facebook and someone will say Karen, and I'm like, who's Karen? What's that got to do with anything? Can someone explain to me? I've not even researched it because I'd much rather someone just explain to me what this is.
Karen is like your middle-aged or mid to like you probably between 30 and 50-year-old or like 35 and over white woman from like South America who is basically just racist, and everyone has their place, and you can't
southern
step
part of
outside
America, not South America.
Yeah, it's just can't step outside your comfort zone. Everything's segregated. I'm always wronged. Black people want everything. Hispanics are taking our jobs. The world is against me, kind of thing. So what this film is basically doing is taking, because it's all over social media. So anytime somebody posts something, it'll be a white woman saying, "Why are you entering this building?" It's like, "I'm just trying to deliver something. You don't live here. I know you don't live here." It's like, "No, I'm not living here. I just want to deliver something." And it's like, because he's black, and they're going to take all these kind of stuff that they've seen on social media, incorporate into one character and have her as the neighbor from hell. So either, I think, so what will probably happen is a black family will move into an area and she's going to cause them hell. She's a great, actually, I think it's spot on casting for that because, her performance in Orange is the New Black and stuff like that, I can totally see it. And so that's going to be the kind of the premise of the movie. And basically it's a movie about now. It is about sort of like Black Lives Matter. It is about Trump supporters in America and the education side of it and expectation and that kind of. So it's a very, very much a movie for society at the moment in America.
Okay.
So
I didn't really look this one up, so I've got nothing. I've got nothing really to add. Sounds interesting. Sounds original. Sounds right up my street. So I'm always going to hit that one.
No, it's a remake of Rear Window, so it's just going to be like this.
Okay, no. Do you know why I'm mad? It's just every time I see Kevin Hart, I'm like, bro, you could do so much better. You are actually genuinely funny, man. I want Kevin Hart to be in a film that I generally want to see. That's what I want to see.
I'm not a fan of Kevin Hart at all.
Dude,
I'm not a fan of him.
You're missing out.
I've watched some of his stand-up. What I'm not a fan of Kevin Hart for, he always plays the angry, small black person who is not really tough. So, like, obviously he's all talk, but then if, like, you step up, like, he plays that whole comedy act that if you step up to him, then he's scared of you, but he's going to try and flip it in a way that makes him look big, but he's, like, scared of you. So that for me is like what character he usually plays. And it just got a bit stale for me, to be honest, because he just keeps playing that same character. So his stand-up is all right. I don't think it's great, but I think it's all right.
Yeah, I get what you mean by Kevin Hart. He is just Kevin Hart in everything. There isn't really a separation from him. Even this new series that's going to be on Quibi, where he's like Die Hard.
Playing Kevin Hart.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And, so it's...
Well, that's the John Travolta thing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Where he looks like Bruce Willis, but it's not Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
That's actually
they wanted to get Bruce Willis.
But Bruce Willis was like, fuck no.
I totally get where you are with Kevin Hart with that, but
I can't really judge because I've never watched a Kevin Hart stand up from start to finish. So I'm like, I only know him from the little tiny clips I've seen and from the films I've seen him in. And it was like, I mean, at one point I wanted to ask you a question when you were talking, Sash, when you were like, oh, he's you were quite high on him. Thinking, could you name a film that you loved him in where he wasn't billed alongside someone? So you take away the ones with The Rock, you take away that one he did with Will Ferrell, him as his film that you're like, yep.
I quite like Night School, to be honest. Is it Night School?
I haven't seen that.
The one
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
did-
I actually really did enjoy that one. I mean, yeah, he's doing this thing, but you know what? There was a lot more to it, and I think I actually liked it because I can't remember who the teacher was.
Tiffany
This is-
Haddish.
Yes, she kills it. She kills it. I was crying. It was too funny, man. But like that, I want to see more of that.
The thing is, behind the scenes, I would say that I'm high on Kevin Hart for what he does behind the scenes because
Oh yeah, definitely.
he put her on to a degree, right? He helped her to get to the position she's in now, and I'm like, I am all for someone helping another person out, just from the strength of their character helping them out. Like you're probably not going to get any tremendous gain from this. You're just doing it. I'm all for that.
I mean, his most un-Kevin Hart movie is The Upside with Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, that was a good film.
And yeah, so it's a remake of the
French
Untouchables. Yeah, it's a remake of the Untouchables, and he was really good in that. He showed some range. He had a bit of comedic part in it, but he showed his dramatic side. And
it's a shame that kind of went under because I think because it was a remake, and the French film is quite well known amongst indie fans and stuff.
It's probably one of my top 10, 15 movies of all time. It's a fantastic movie.
So it's a really good film, and yeah, him and Cranston were really, really good in that.
Yeah.
Wasn't Nicole Kidman in that?
She was. Yeah.
She was. Yeah. That's right. Okay, what was next? Kevin Smith has announced that Twilight of the Mallrats is his next film the minute COVID is over. Ben Affleck has officially signed on to reprise his role as the villain. I'm assuming that my man got out of jail for like having sex with underage minors to get revenge on Brody Bruce and TS. I can't wait for this movie. It's not the Kevin Smith sequel that I wanted, but you know what? I'm game. I'm game if we could get all these characters back and like angry Ben Affleck.
Yeah,
and I
mean, it might even start with him coming out of prison.
You know what? If it starts with him coming out of prison, they should have a rocky moment where he's like lifting weights and stuff. Because remember back when he did. Back when he did Mallrats, the original, he wasn't famous and he wasn't skinny. It was when he was Fat Fleck.
To slice those scenes of him training in Batman.
Yeah. So it's like all those times in jail. I've got
like De Niro
to get revenge. I mean, like he wasn't really the star of the show in that. I mean, like he was the villain, but I mean, just seeing those guys again. Like, look, Jay and Silent Bob reboot, man, that film was amazing. In my eyes, as a fan, I felt it totally delivered, and I can't wait for it, man. I can't wait for it. But deep down in my soul, I want Clerks 3. Bring it out now, Kevin. Just stop all this horror movie shit. Just give me Clerks 3. You can retire and carry on chatting your shit on your podcast and stuff. I don't care, Clerks 3. But I'll take Mallrats 2. I'll take Mallrats 2. Even though I do think it's not needed. He gets a pass.
Yeah, he's also confirmed LaForce is going to be back in it.
Was LaForce back? Oh,
yeah,
gosh.
he's back in it. I mean, he's in his 70s now, whatever. But the interesting one is...
is Shannon Doherty going to be back?
Well, she was part of the new 90210 reboot, so you never know.
You know what's really funny? I've got the DVD of Mallrats. And they did like a director's commentary before director's commentary was a thing. And they have like a video thing where you've got like, obviously it was filmed before Ben Affleck was famous, like what he is now.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got Kevin Smith, Ben Affleck, Jason Mewes, and I think the guy, Jason Lee. Jason Lee.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all talking like behind the scenes, like commentary and stuff. And then they talk about Shannon Doherty and the amount they slag her off in that is unbelievable. Because she was treating Ben Affleck like shit. She was like fucking peasant actor because like he was a nobody at the time. And I'm just like thinking now have the tables have turned. Just like, wow. If they get her back in it, that'd be joke.
We're also going to have Ethan Suplee.
Oh man, he's hench now.
Well, that's it. So like he was doing the hidden magic eye picture in it.
Yeah, that's right.
Because he's so shredded now, he's going to be the new security guard at the mall.
Oh shit.
But yeah, so that's Smith's idea. So he's having him back as a security guard of the mall. So if you're not sure who he is, yeah, he's the guy who's trying to see the illusions of the magic eye picture. He went on to become like My Name Is Earl and stuff like that. But now he's just jacked. He's ridiculous.
Bro, he looks like he's gonna be in the main event of SummerSlam.
Yeah, exactly, man. I like before he was just token stoner dude that was quite overweight and stuff, and they'd always cast him like you said, Randy in My Name Is Earl. That was kind of like a perfect kind of thing for him at the time. But now, like, I watched an interview with him, and he said the reason why he's gotten so hench is literally he started dating his current girlfriend, and she was like really into fitness, so he just joined the gym. There was no kind of like, hey, I need to lose weight. It was just something to do with his girlfriend. And like now he's like, fucking hell, that guy could be in UFC now. Yeah. And that's just like, that's such a dramatic change, man. But like, then, you know, with this sequel, I mean, like I said, Ben Affleck looks completely different to what he did back in those films. So, quite interested to see that. So, yeah.
Yeah, Mallrats is one of my my favorite films, one of the better films of my childhood as well. So I'll take Mallrats too. Like, Clerks is something I want as well. Like Clerks is something I'm so hyped. Like Clerks 3 that has to come, but I'll take Mallrats as well, man.
Yeah, it's not the sequel we really wanted, but you know what? We'll take it. We'll just take it.
And I'll take it on the basis that the Jay and Silent Bob was just so much fun. Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah. So, because that was it. I mean, going into Jay and Silent Bob reboot, I wasn't too sure, man, that it would deliver. And I've seen it twice now, and man, I think it really delivered. And I'm so glad they got Ben Affleck back. Yeah, to be honest. So, and if you know the whole ins and outs of that story, it kind of made it more weighty, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, moving on from Jay and Silent Bob, Jackie Chan is back in another Police Story. This must be Police Story 7 by now. I love it how they're remarketing it as a new Police Story. I thought New Police Story was the last Police Story and the Police Story before that. It's like, for me, Police Story will always be 1 and 2 and Super Cop, okay? Those 3 films, sick, and plus Super Cop, man, like that's the first time we ever saw Michelle Yeoh in anything, and it was just like, who the fuck is this chick? And like, she's gone on to become like super famous. And then fucking the spin. Jackie Chan's First Strike? Not official sequel, but that was kind of like a spin-off.
It's in the box set.
Is it in the box set?
Yeah, so the box set, you've got Police Story 2, Super Cop 2, First Strike, New Police Story, and Police Story 2013.
See, this is just it, man. New Police Story was, you know what I didn't like about it? I didn't like the fact it went like, okay, films are more darker and grittier now, and then they tried to make it dark and gritty, and I was just like, no, I'll take First Strike over this. Like First Strike, it's okay, but it's just okay. It's just kind of like, okay, you're a normal on the street cop. Now you're a super spy. It's like, what? How did he get that promotion? And more importantly, how the hell did Uncle Benny get a promotion top in the CIA from being a police commissioner? It made no sense. But you kind of went with it anyway. But yeah, not Super Cop. New Police Story, with the little fucking gang and shit, with their crazy masks and shit. I was like, okay, this has gone Dark Knight territory all of a sudden. Where's the fun? Where's the fun in Police Story? And like 2013, I was just like, okay, the fights are good, but The fights are never bad. Okay, it's Jackie Chan. But like, I didn't dig that either. I was just like, yeah, you're just like milking a dead horse, and you're like almost 60, and like, don't get me wrong, it's Jackie Chan, but like, can we just leave like that character alone? Because you can't recreate what they did in the old films, you know what I mean? So why bother? It's like not even the same tone. You're just milking a name, and like, you're Jackie Chan, man. You could just make anything. The same with fucking Will Smith and those guys, man. It's the same thing. It's like those films were done. Leave them. You got Bill? It's Jackie Chan. He's got like a billion script. I'd take Rush Hour 4 over Police Story now. because
I
I
was
just
just
don't.
about to say that.
Yeah, I
I
would
was just
take
about to
because
say that.
Rush Hour 4, you can't get bored with those two characters, man. I'll take Rush Hour 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Fuck it. Just give me, you know what? It doesn't even have to be Rush Hour. Just give me Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan in a completely brand new kind of film. I dig their chemistry. I'll watch that film. Just don't make it a Planes, Trains, and Automobile remake. That's all I ask. So, but yeah, that's how I feel about Police Story. What about you guys? Have you? I know Ken has never seen any of these films.
Never
Neil,
watched a Police Story, but
dude,
you
you
know,
need to, bruv. Police Story 1 and 2. 2 has like the greatest Jackie Chan fight scene I've ever seen in my life. I keep posting it every year. That
Is that the one in the shopping mall? Oh, the park.
The park fight. Come on, man.
the park fight. I have seen that. I've
Oh
seen
my
that.
days, bro.
So
That
you
is
know,
just-
look, I love Jackie Chan. Yeah, I probably was exposed to him probably first with Rush Hour, and then I probably watched some other bits and pieces. You know, there was some swings and misses, the Tuxedo, Shanghai Nights, and stuff like that. But you know, he's got actually a lot of stuff coming up at the moment. So in terms, we still haven't seen this Journey to China, the Mystery of Iron Mask, you know, with like Schwarzenegger and stuff.
It's out. You can buy it.
It's out. You can buy
So
it.
yeah, so I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that was out. But you've got
I didn't even know that was out.
Rush
It's
Hour.
not that great.
Right, okay.
He's not in it, but they have Schwarzenegger in it and Jackie Chan in it, but they're not the main leads, and they're not.
No.
You know what I mean? It's somebody else, and they're in it for like 2-3 scenes, and
It's totally disrespectful considering they're the two people on the cover.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's like-
exactly. That's what I
it's
thought
like-
it would be.
Yeah, it's like I wouldn't even recommend it to my worst enemy, man. It's fucking dog turd, and that's upsetting because, like,
I would.
you know,
I got a few people I can recommend that film to.
nah, man, because you know what, it's upsetting because Arnold and Jackie Chan, that's a team up I would fucking watch in a heartbeat,
Yeah.
man. It's like
Yeah.
a wasted opportunity.
Yeah. But I mean, in terms of what's announced coming forward, so like Rush Hour 4 and Shanghai Dawn have both been announced.
Wait, Rush Hour 4's been announced.
It's been announced, but he hasn't officially been cast.
Well, this is the latest on Rush Hour 4 by my knowledge from before. It was a go. They have a script. Brett Ratner was starting to direct and stuff, and then he got Me Too'd.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when that happened, it's kind of fallen apart because I think Chris Tucker was kind of banking on it, and yeah, it just kind of fallen apart. And they won't do it without Brett Ratner. So that's where it sits currently at the moment until that gets resolved.
The thing I probably most enjoyed him recently was The Foreigner. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, that was a good film. That was a good film.
It's just nice seeing him not do drama. That's why I disagree with you, Sash, on New Police Story. I thought the story was a bit stupid. We can say that, but I thought his acting was pretty stellar in that.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Call it something different then, because I just feel that tonally, it missed the mark on what Police Story was, if that makes sense. You look at the three.
Change.
Yeah, it's like you watch the original 3 films. You know what I mean? They are what they are. They're classics. They are actually fucking classics. And First Strike, give that a pass. I mean, like, yeah, it's ridiculous, but I give it a pass because it's in that realm, that era, and tonally it fits. But that's like saying you change up. You know what I mean? You change up something. You change up Rush Hour and have it be a gritty, dramatic film all of a sudden. Do you know what I mean? People going for Rush Hour ain't going for that. You know what I mean? It's too different. And that's my problem with Police Story. I mean, like, it was an all right film. It just wasn't what I was expecting. And 2013 was just waste. It was just a waste film. Yeah, it was just a waste one. So when I hear Police Story, I'm like, okay, what are we going to get? Are you going to be dark and gritty, or are we going back to the fun? And I just feel like if we're going to go back to the fun, because I could gladly not watch those two police stories, New Police Story and 2013. I can forever live my life without watching those 2 films ever again. But if we were to go back to what it was tonally with First Strike and the original 3, I just don't to revisit that character as an older guy. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'd much rather live with those films as they are and just watch them. I mean, hey, it's a franchise for Jackie, totally, and I get it. And there probably will always be a police story, but I'd much rather see like maybe a sequel to Armor of God and Operation Condor. And I know there was one recently, and Chinese Zodiac. And I quite like Chinese Zodiac for what it was. And I was like, you know what? There's a character that can have multiple adventures and stuff. And it's the same, same kind of police story vibe. I mean, like, I can see an older Condor and stuff. He's got many, many films that he's done in his career that I'd much rather tap the well. But I just feel like with Police Story, they changed it so much to what it originally was. Just leave it alone, man. But that's just me personally as a fan. But, yeah. Neil, any thoughts?
Not really.
No, you ain't seen any of these films, have you?
No, I've seen Super Cop and Police Story 1.
Oh, okay. You haven't seen 2 with the deaf guy?
No.
And the fireworks factory? Oh, man, you need to make that happen in your life, bro. Seriously.
The Jackie Chan films that I've seen, I've seen Police Story, I've seen Super Cop, I've seen Rumble in the Bronx.
Yeah.
God and Operation Condor. I saw City Hunter. Well, I think it's the one where he dresses up like Chun-Li.
Yeah.
Based off a manga, that is.
But it's like, I guess it's just like, like you see the films of a certain actor's era when they're just like churning out great movies.
Yeah.
But then you miss one or two.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't realize that you've missed them until you're in a situation like this where you're having a conversation. Yeah. Someone's like, oh, this and this. It's like, I didn't even realize that there was that many. I thought there was New Police Story and that was the last one. I had no idea that, there was it 2013?
2013.
Yeah. New Police Story 2.
But
I'm just like, for me, it's weird because this is probably one of those moments where, I become hypocritical because for the things I love, I'm like a diehard fan and I'm like, nah, don't touch them. But for the things I'm like, about, I guess, like, I'm happy to see Jackie Chan in anything, but I'm just not tremendously bothered about him in anything.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
He's in the twilight
He's
of his
66
career,
now.
right? Yeah, he's in the twilight, and the type of acting that he does, the martial arts, when you get to a certain age, it's gonna slow down.
Yeah, exactly.
16. He's still there. Fair play to him. Yeah. Fair play to him for still making films. Like, I think he should just go more drama or mentor role.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he slowed down on the batshit crazy stunts now. Like, he'll still do fight scenes and it will always be him.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's a stunt like you would get in it, because he'd always have that one stunt or those two stunts that would be the breakout stunt where you knew it was him.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of scaled back on that. And that annoyed me with that. There was something that annoyed me. I watched, what's the one with him and the guy from Jackass? Johnny Knoxville. He did one. Yeah.
It's on Netflix, isn't it?
What annoyed me with, what annoyed me with that the most? They deliberately put a big Jackie Chan stunt in the movie, and they could have cut it out, but they decided because it's Jackie Chan, let's put it in. And then they use green screen. Okay, they use green screen, and the thing was, I would have been fine with it. I would have been fine with it had the CGI had been on point. But for the most basic of green screen, they fucked up because you could tell that the background was fake. It was like something out of the 19.
Nothing's gonna save it.
Yeah, it was like something out of the.
Yeah,
it was something out of the 1980s, and I was like, dude, I could do that better with my fucking, with what I've got. In fact, I think I've done better, and I was just like, this is a big budget movie. How could you, and this is Jackie Chan, how could you let them get away with this fucking green screen?
Skip trace.
Skip trace. Yeah, there you go, skip trace.
But I'm literally like, Johnny Knoxville in it, I'm sure that they were like, all right, so this is the stunt. And Jackie was like, oh, cool. You know what? So, Johnny, yeah, make sure that when you roll this way. You don't want to break your neck. And then he was like, director, I can't do this.
Oh man, but yeah, that was just it. I was just like, dude, man, just fix up those visual effects, just like serious. But yeah, it was a poor movie. It was so poor. Yeah. But yeah, Ken, you need to borrow some DVDs off me, man. You need to get in. And you know what? I know some people are like, no, you gotta watch it with the subtitles. No, fuck that shit, man. Old school Jackie Chan is only represented in subtitles. You know why? Because on Channel 4, late night Channel 4, when a lot of us saw Jackie Chan for the first time, that's how we watched it, with subtitles, with American speak. It was joke. It was so bad, it was jokes.
Oh no, I'd watch it with subtitles. Yeah.
Oh, you'd watch it with subtitles.
The thing with the American dubs, old school American dubs, is because they tried to make them so cartoony, like for no reason. Like these martial arts films, they tried to make the characters so cartoony. It's hilarious. Like I love old school dubs. I never watch like new martial arts like dub now because dubs are just bad in general now. But like, old school dubs were just quality. Some of them are just like quality, like just because they're so bad.
Yeah, but that's the thing, because I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, remembering films like Born Invincible and that. I'm like, them dubs, they was necessary. Right? Because when you hear like the sound effect of like the swords clanging together and like like anyone who especially if you grew up listening to like Wu-Tang, like that's integral to your spirit now when you hear that, and it's like, I will beat you. I can do it better than yours. Like, I need that. Like, when you're watching this, it's like...
Well, that's just it. The RZA, man. The RZA with the Kung Fu, man. I love what's the film he directed? The Man with the Iron
Fists.
Oh, man, I love that film. It was so good. And then Russell Crowe just comes in as Jackknife. Oh, my God.
Yeah, funny now. Yeah, I like that film as well, actually.
I heard there was a second one. I never saw it though. There is. Is it any good?
It's you know what? It's weird. It's not a great film. It's not a super terrible film. But it's sort of like the saving grace of it for me was it's got I can't pronounce his real name, but it's got Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat in it.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know you're on that. Yeah. Every time
and I was like, yeah. Cool, I'll watch
it. I liked how the new Mortal Kombat 11, they actually got that actor as Shang Tsung.
Yeah.
I was kind of praying that they got Terry Crews as Jax.
What, in the game?
Yeah, for the game, yeah, but didn't happen. But yeah, you never know. Moving forward, okay, Kathleen Kennedy speaks on what to expect in Star Wars future. Right.
I'm not sure if Lucasfilm I'm not sure they should keep allowing Kathleen Kennedy to have interviews at this point in time. Just because she just contradicts herself, because I think it was after the release of Rise of Skywalker where she was saying that it's a very difficult job for their team because they have no
comic books or novels or stuff like Marvel. Novels, like Marvel. That's exactly what she said.
They don't have the content that Marvel has to make Star Wars films. So now for her to say, oh yes, we're just looking at this content from the novels and the games and
it's like, did you know there are Star Wars books?
Yeah. And
okay, so her exact quote
for me though.
Her exact quote from the article was, the stories have been told within this universe in the last 40 odd years. There's now the realization that this is a mythology that actually spans across 25,000 years. When you really start to look at all the different stories that have been told, whether it's in the books and the games, we just need the time to step back and really absorb what George has created. And it's like, my initial feeling is, what the fuck? You guys should have been doing that since day one.
You purchased
you guys
something,
purchased this shit, study it before you went and did what you did, because that's the problem, man. I mean, here's the thing, okay? I know John doesn't like it, but I liked The Force Awakens, okay? From a filmmaking standpoint, I saw what Disney were trying to do. They were trying to play it safe. Introduce new characters. I felt in that film, the new characters worked for me in terms of the characters. I didn't need the third Death Star. That was bullshit, but, you know, it was what it was. But I liked what JJ set up. Unfortunately, there was no plan, and it was kind of pass the baton when that should not have been the case. They should have really looked at what they got, looked at what, you know, I didn't have a problem with them dismissing the canon from before, because it would make it really difficult for a filmmaker to continue those stories. You know, we wouldn't have got the Thrawn trilogy the way it is in the books, because that's supposed to happen 5 years after the Battle of Endor. You know what I mean? And that would be a real expensive film to have 3 leads like CGI'd up. You know what I mean? The tech wasn't there. I do feel there's a lot of shit stuff in the expanded universe, in the Legends canon, but what they should have done was look at what they have and done a Marvel, cherry pick the best ideas and what could be made into films, cherry picked the best characters. Like every Star Wars fan, if we got Grand Admiral Thrawn in that film, people would have lost their fucking minds. You know what I mean? People would have lost their minds. You know, get him, get Rook, get fucking all of that shit. People would have lost their minds. But what they did, wow, like what Rian Johnson did specifically was just like, wow, dude, you really tanked this shit, man.
Yeah, and the thing, I don't even blame Rian Johnson anymore, because he was given the free reign to do whatever he wanted. So he's just gonna do what he wants, basically. So like that is more of a problem where, like Lucasfilm, they have a law team. They have a team that looks through any Star Wars content that's to be released to see if it matches up with everything else in their law.
But it's quite evident.
I can't even blame Rian Johnson on that anymore, to be honest.
But it's quite evident. But it's quite evident that they didn't listen to the people inside of Lucasfilm. Actually, it's been proven. Like, you had that guy that worked there, that did all the behind the scenes books, that got fired under Disney, where, for, you know, not even fired, they just didn't renew his contract because he does a behind the scene books. And what Lucas used to do, it didn't matter whether it was the ugly, harsh truth or whatever. He'd always put it out there, regardless of what happened, because that's how the shit was made. But Disney didn't want that with episode 7, so they took him off the project, and he did, you know, he worked there like 2 years before he got removed, if you know what I mean, under the Disney era. And he had a lot, he's got a blog, and he has a lot to say about their work. Yeah, he has a blog, mate, and trust me, you'll see a lot of shit that, like, you know, he doesn't give a shit because he's not under NDA anymore, but he's got a lot of contacts and stuff, and he's speaking, and he did all of them, all the books from A New Hope to Revenge of the Sith. And they took half of his stuff from The Force Awakens, and they didn't pay him for it. They just took his shit and just like put it out there. And he's got a lawsuit against him and shit. And there's all kinds of stuff going on, man. And like they just don't listen. And even in the canon that they have established themselves, they're contradicting their own shit. You know what I mean? Like the Rise of Skywalker novelization is a testament to that shit, because every time I see articles on the internet, I haven't read the novel myself, but I've heard and I've seen stuff, it just contradicts itself, you know what I mean, in its own screenplay.
I've read the novel myself, and the amount of contradictions, it's just really stupid. Like, even to the point where basically they said that like the directors came out and said that Leia died due to projecting Han Solo to Kylo Ren or whatnot. But in the book, it doesn't say anything about that. It basically, in the book, it talks about like Leia changing like Kylo Ren's mind, like in his mind, like not using any. Yeah, if you want to check out the book, you can. But
that's all right, man. I can live without it.
What you just said, the thing is unreadable.
Yeah, I mean, and they also left in the book all of Finn's force power scenes as well. So it just, like when you believe it in the book, but then you have nothing about Finn being force sensitive, like in the film itself. It's just like it doesn't really, like, a lot of people aren't going to read this book, so they're not going to see that type of stuff.
I mean,
it's that book is rubbish. It's really, really bad.
Quite clear what Disney did. Look, Disney paid a lot of money for Star Wars, and they would only have been able to sit on it for so long because they're like, we've just paid this, we got to make that money back. Quickest thing is, right, new trilogy, get the original cast back, however that plays out, continue that story. If you call it an episode, it links to the original, and we're going to make bank off that because everyone's going to go see episode 7. 8 and 9, don't worry about it, we'll get to that, just get the next one done. And then it's like, right, what else have we got here? What do people like about Star Wars? Okay, they like the Millennium Falcon, they like Han Solo. Right, let's do a Han Solo movie. Right, well, Harrison's too old now, so we're going to have to do it, when he's younger. We'll focus it on, what do they talk about Millennium Falcon? Oh, yeah, Kessel Run, and he won it. Okay, cool, let's just do that. And then they did that. And, and then Rogue One was just like, oh, yeah, did you see that funny thing about the Death Star and, like the hole in the Death Star and how they were able to blow it up? And, we can make a movie about that. Anything that tied in with the original trilogy timeline, then that's, so they're looking anything from episode 1, to episode 6. Let's fill some gaps in there. And then we've got the other stuff. And, they rushed it because they wanted to get the content out. They wanted to make their money back. But then, now they've sat back and realized what they did really split the audiences. There's a huge fans out there for episode 8, as much as there are people that hate it. Probably what's better reviewed, in terms of critics. But, I think we're on the same consensus. We're on the same consensus here that we just didn't feel it. They didn't do right by the characters and stuff like that. So, I think we all accepted, like episode 7, like you said, was it was passable. I really enjoyed it. I was taken back, and I had the right amount of nostalgia there, and I was just like, it was like I'm just getting going now. It's like, yeah, okay, I understand. Harrison Ford didn't want to be around for the whole of trilogy, and we knew that. He always wanted his character to die off, and it's like, so he accepted that. But it's like, right, Luke and Leia, we still got them, great. And then we didn't even see that through to the final film. So it was, I mean, we're actually going to be doing some podcasts, some spin-offs now on Creative Control about how we would have done episodes 8 and 9. So you'll be able to check those out. But in terms of stepping back now, there was loads of talk because there was supposed to be the Game of Thrones guys doing a trilogy. Last season of that was so piss poor. Maybe they're rethinking about what they're going to give them. I just don't. I
believe they're not on it at all.
Yeah, I don't think
they're not. They bailed.
So they bailed. They bailed because Netflix offered them $500 million.
That's it. They got
to create their own shows on Netflix. And they were like, as a writer, that would be a lot more appealing, especially if you've got loads of ideas. They'd just done a show where they were beholden to source material, and they were about to, and obviously they're getting a lot of flack from that last season. So do they really want to get flack off of the Star Wars film if they drop the ball on that? They took the money, mate, and they ran, and they left Kathleen Kennedy mad because basically she thought she had them locked and in a vault, and they were just like, nah, this ain't for us laters.
I think the way I see Disney playing this out at the moment is that obviously the Mandalorian's huge for them. So I think they're going to be filming, I think we mentioned, like seasons 2, like 3 and 4 back to back.
Yeah, three and four back to back.
Back to back, so they've got that going. We know that there's supposed to be this Kenobi series. Now, whether they end up changing that into a movie, because they haven't got any other movies slated at the moment, that might be something.
They've got some dates. They've got dates already. Like
they've got dates, but what?
But they haven't got. They haven't told
exactly.
You what
they are. So maybe they're thinking, what? Maybe we'll go back and do that Boba Fett movie now because of the way the Mandalorian's been doing. Let's bring back that character, tie it into the series maybe, and have him have his own movie. So, because I think Boba Fett's supposed to show up in Mandalorian, so then it's going to be a case of, right, now we'll show you where he's been for the last few years. Do they look at Solo and think, okay, maybe it didn't quite work, but there's actually quite a few people who've really enjoyed it and it's done well on Disney Plus. We've kind of set ourselves up for a sequel there. Maybe we just go with that. But in terms of actual new films and where they're going to go with it, no idea. Because there's supposed to be like the Old Republic thing, wasn't there as well? There was supposed to be.
I think from that interview, he explicitly says video games, and that is something that they like. Kathleen Kennedy's never sort of looked at before. Like I know she says novels and video games, but she already like sort of piled off the novels, but she never said anything about video games then. I do think they're looking at Knights of the Old Republic.
Thing is though, if they this is the thing, if they attempt to go that direction, even though it's something we all want, you know, it's one of those things.
I don't want it. I don't want
see,
it.
See, that's just it. You know, if they fuck it up, people will just be fucking enraged, man. I don't know.
I just want them to. They don't care.
Yeah.
They're going to churn this content out because it's.
Oh yeah, of course.
Look how we didn't enjoy the prequels. We didn't enjoy the prequels. The whole generations now love the prequels. You know, they'll do it Knights of the Old Republic. The old fans might not like it. New people love it. They won't care. Star Wars fans got to accept that it's not what it is anymore. It's its own thing. It's going to be content that you don't like, you don't enjoy, but new generations and new people to it are just going to welcome it. Because when we saw Star Wars, it was a different time. Different place in society. It was quite a spectacle. We hadn't seen these kind of movies before. It was all different. Now it's the norm, and so people are just like, yeah, that's cool. I quite enjoyed it. No biggie, no love lost, and they just kind of get on with it.
I kind of disagree with you on that. Well, I kind of agree with you and disagree with you on that. I think because when you say about, when we watched it, there was only the 3 films. And then, when the prequels came out, and there's a whole generation of people who love the prequels. Absolutely. But I think where the issues come in is you already knew even though it's a new generation, you already know the ending. When you come to the prequels, you know the ending because there's episodes 4, 5, and 6. So no matter what you see from Phantom Menace to Revenge of the Sith, you know what's next. It's established. It's safe, for lack of a better term. It's a safe thing. But I think there is an issue. But also the thing is, from I would say original trilogy fans, those who grew up with it, watching it on TV and stuff. From that group of fans, it's even if we didn't really like, Phantom Menace, we stuck with it. We stuck with it through Attack of the Clones. We stuck with it to Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith. Sorry, then we got Clone Wars out of it, so we stuck with it. And it's, you stuck with it, but at the same time, there was more going for it than going against it, because it was still the vision of the creator. Regardless of how much you know about making a film and who has what role and who writes the screenplay versus who wrote the story versus who edited the film, not knowing all of that, just knowing, okay, who created Star Wars? George Lucas. Who's doing the prequels? George Lucas. You're like, okay, I'm okay. I'm good with that. With this, the sequels trilogy, it's like, okay, now it's out of the hands of the creator and it's going into the hands of the people who, love them or hate them, have made a business out of making money out of childhood, right? And they went out and they screwed it up, right? For in the broader sense of things, they made, 6 movies, 7 movies, 8 movies now. How many did they make? So it was
5.
5. Thank you. Right. So they made 5 movies, and it's okay for every good one, we got a bad one, because you got Force Awakens, which some people love, some people hate, but I feel on the whole it's a good movie. Then you got Rogue One, which is a brilliant movie. It'd be a brilliant movie if it wasn't even connected to Star Wars. It's a brilliant movie. But then you got Last Jedi. There's a lot of problems, or a lot of people have problems with it. Then Solo, which is a good movie, but has a lot. It basically took the heat that was still coming off Last Jedi, and then it was like, okay, now we have to pause everything that we're planning and doing and wait, and then we're going to put out episode 9.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't go well, or it didn't go as well as they hoped, you know? And it was sort of like, instead of, you know, what movie studios usually do when they just throw money at everything to make it better, they were just like, okay, here's the entire history of Star Wars. I'm going to throw everything at you, and all the things that we know the general public, not the hardcore loving Star Wars, the general public are familiar with and quite like, we're going to throw that in there and see what lands. That's not going to be enough, even though Star Wars is for children and it's like every generation of children will generally enjoy it for the most part. That's not going to stick, because you can't rest on the laurels of, well, even if you don't like this, everything's leading up to what you loved from this, and this. Now it's like you're in free territory. So whatever you screw up, people can stop there and be like, I'm not coming back.
No, I get it. But, you know, if you look at the box office numbers.
Yeah. But I think
Force Awakens did over 2 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then episode 8 did just over 1 billion. 1 billion and 56 million. Where the Rise of Skywalker did 1 billion and 72 million. So the lull was episode 8, but people came back because they wanted to see how it ended with Rise of Skywalker.
Oh yeah, of course.
But between episode 8 and episode 7, it halved. Yeah, but you don't get a lot of people saying, "Oh, you know, episode 7 was a really, really bad movie." You know, there's some people who didn't like aspects of it. I know 1 or 2 people who really didn't like it, but
I don't know, man. I know a few people that hate that movie, man.
Yeah, but for me personally,
my beef with the Force Awakens is like, Force Awakens, I feel, is only a good movie because A New Hope was such a good movie. So you can clone everything in A New Hope, and it will still be enjoyable. And that's basically what the Force Awakens is. That's why I don't actually hate. I like it as a film, but it copies everything from A New Hope.
Yeah.
Everything.
But essentially,
it shouldn't be considered good.
But essentially, isn't that and I'm sorry because we kind of jumped on what you were going to say, Ken, but isn't that sort of like the history of Star Wars? Because you look at episodes 4, 5, and 6. Now, firstly, you know, like I've said it numerous times that, you know, A New Hope is the story of King Arthur. But that's neither here nor there. You know, essentially the main kind of core beats of episodes 4, 5, and 6 are repeated in episodes 1, 2, and 3. You know, so it's sort of like when episode 7 came out and it was just a rehash of episode 4, which, you know, was already rehashed in episode 1. I'm like, cool, I'm comfortable with this. It was the familiarity that, as I mentioned earlier, it's the familiarity, and it was like, it was, to me, I felt like it's the safe option when it's the new hands on the wheel.
Yeah, it's a huge expectation. That job
so
was just
like you don't branch the boat out too far. You don't be we're going to go completely different, because you're going to divide people immediately. You bring them in and you're like, all right, we know you love this. Here's what you loved. The next time, then we're going to try something different.
Yeah, I mean, if you saw episode 8 first, I wouldn't have come back for the other ones. Yeah. So you have to keep that familiarity, and you couldn't go too far away. But they're like, okay, we've got everyone in now. We've done 2 billion. Go do what you want now. It's fine. And yeah, if you go back to episode 1, that did over 1 billion. And then episode 2 did just over 656 million. So it halved again. And then episode 3 came back up again, because the first episode of a new trilogy, or first episode, is always going to bring in a new audience. Yeah. So the first Star Wars did the most money, then the second, then the third, and it's steadily, you know, and they never made the same as the first one did. Episode 1 did the most money. 2 and 3 never made what it was. Episode 7, same, doubled, because people will go see something which is new. You'll have parents and families, and, you know, take the, you know, younger ones, and then they're not into it, and they don't go see the other movies. So the starting point is always
going to be parenting.
Yes,
go watch Star Wars.
Yeah, but you know, to go from, like, you know, but then if you look at Solo, that didn't even do 400 million worldwide.
Yeah,
I mean, Solo is definitely a victim of The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
It's not.
Solo has to.
I think so. With Solo, it wasn't just that. There was numbers of factors. I myself,
no problem.
I think for me personally, on this podcast, I was very vocal about why is there a new Han Solo movie?
Mhm.
Like I'll self-admit it. I was against it from its inception. Okay, I've got dialogue on the interwebs that have me like screwing about it. I was like, because in my mind, Han Solo's Harrison Ford. It still is now. I felt that Aaron Wright kid did a good job though saying that, but you know, I was like, what's the point? Because in my mind, young Han Solo is 4, 5, and 6. I don't want to see, you know, in my mind, I didn't want to see a young Han Solo. I was just like, no, fuck this shit. And I was like, even if they did a young prequel, they'd fuck it up anyway. Han would never meet Chewie the way he did in the novels and shit and whatnot. And, you know, lo and behold, I was very surprised that they did actually listen on that movie to what's gone on in the past. And they managed to bring in new elements and bring something fresh. And it really worked. The problem is that there were a lot of people like me that didn't want to see it for that exact same reason, that it wasn't Harrison Ford. And for them bringing Harrison Ford for The Force Awakens and then following up with a Han Solo movie is fucking a big slap in the face to the casual audiences that, you know what I mean? They're like, why is there a recast? Why can't we have a Solo movie set before 7, you know? Because you would have thought that would have been there on the table. The other thing would be the Last Jedi backlash. Because after seeing the Last Jedi, do you think a lot of people, hardcore fans, are going to check out this Solo film that, like,
it's like a boycott?
Yeah, there's going to be a boycott. And then on top of that, here's the most important thing: it came out 2 weeks after Avengers: Infinity War.
Yeah.
General movie-going public, okay. They're hyped for Infinity War. Okay, that's the be-on and end-all of fucking movies that summer. Okay, I don't care what you are.
People went and saw Infinity War 2-3 times as opposed to going and seeing Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. People were going to see Infinity War 8 times, 9 times. I know people that have seen it that many times in cinema, trust. And like, Solo's out, who cares, man? You know, did you
because
see
it didn't progress the
Jedi?
story, and because it was a prequel, it didn't actually matter if you saw it now or not. It was one of those you could catch later because you're not going to miss. There's no spoilers.
Why? That's probably why it's doing so well on Disney Plus. Is because
of course.
People who were like, I'm not watching this because I'm so pissed at Last Jedi. And then they were like, okay, let me watch it now. And they were like, oh, hot damn.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
In fact, I remember.
Sacha, you remember when you had to like beg me to watch this? Like I was ready to denounce all of Star Wars.
I gotta say this. Me and John, we sat next to each other. He was like my line manager at Sega, and like we were on a project which I can't mention because like it's still being worked on. But we were on a project, and it was just me and him on the project. And how we got to know we got to know each other pretty well. And you know what? Like he saw I was a Star Wars fan, etc. And what's really funny is like I'm OT, I'm original trilogy, he's prequel trilogy, and you know what? We got along like a house on fire because we shared the same fucking passion. We hate the Last Jedi, and that's just it. We'd bitch about the shit, but I was always the optimist, okay? And I'd be like, "Yo, John, you should check Star Wars Rebels." He's like, "Get the fuck out of here with this shit." I was like, "No, seriously, here's season 1." I just gave it to him. He watched it, and it was like crack cocaine to him, and he was like, "Yo, you got season 2?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I gave him his Rebels fix. And then I was like, bro, I've seen Solo. I remember when I saw Solo, I turned around to him and was like, dude, it's actually all right. He's like, get the fuck out of here. I was like, no, seriously, it's actually all right. So I gave him the DVD. He's like, okay, I'll do this, but if this is shit, I won't trust you again. He watches it. He's like, bro, you were right. I was like, I know, right? It's fucking crazy. And then I was like, well, if John likes it, would my mate Andrew Sparks like it? Because Sparks is very original trilogy. So I turned around to Sparks like, you want to borrow Solo? So yeah, sure, I'll give it a go. But if it's shit, Sash, I won't trust your opinion. He borrowed it, he gave it back. He's like, mate, I loved it. Why the fuck? They should have got these guys doing Last Jedi. I was like, yeah, man, like whatever. But as Ron Howard, you can't go wrong with Ron Howard at times. You know, he's a safe director and he's pretty good. And I know that movie itself had a troubled production, but Ron Howard, he just did what he's good at and came out with a decent movie. But I think in terms of Star Wars, and like I know Kathleen Kennedy's saying her shit, that shit got me mad, but personally I think Star Wars should just avoid the sequel trilogy at the moment, should concentrate on the spin-offs and give the public what they want. really. They're in a perfect place to give the public what they want. I mean, you got Kenobi, like you said, Ken. There is expectation on that because there's certain beats they have to go. I was thinking about this the other day. I mean, like, where could you take a fucking Kenobi movie or even a series? I think it'd work better as a series than a movie now that I've thought about it, because this is what I think they should do with fucking Kenobi. Like, Bail Organa, Princess Leia's father, gets in contact with Obi-Wan. It's towards the end of the Clone Wars. You know, like how you have skirmishes and war, etc. Like the war has ended, but there's the odd skirmish. Bail Organa calls him back and goes, "Yo, I've got one last mission for you." Because in the movies, we have never seen what she says in the hologram. Years ago, you served under my father in the Clone Wars. Boom, let's see that mission. He does a secret mission where he has to leave Tatooine and leave Luke. You know what I mean? And in that mission, he has to fight. He has to face Darth Vader again, because basically it's a case of, in Return of the Jedi, what does he say to Luke? Luke says to Obi-Wan, he goes, "I can feel the good in him," and he goes, "There's more machine in him now. He's twisted and evil." But before he says that, he goes, "I once thought as you did." You know what I mean? That's the quote. I once thought as you did, but he's more machine now, twisted and evil. But the thing is, when did he think that? Because last time we as an audience saw him, when did they meet again? He saw him like burning the fuck up on Mustafar, bro. You know what I mean? So he must have thought maybe he could save him. So there has to be that confrontation. There has to be that confrontation. And because of the nature of television, because Ewan McGregor, you know what I mean? You could de-age him slightly with makeup even, and Hayden Christensen. We could have a flashback of them in the Clone Wars in their prime in an episode, showing them as friends. And for people that didn't like the prequels, under Deborah Chow, have something by a decent filmmaker show a decent episode where it could have people go, maybe let's check out Clone Wars, and maybe you can have an Ahsoka Tano live action in that flashback episode. You could have you could expand it so much and give it more depth and have that be one season. I wouldn't do it multi-season. I'd just do it one season, and then everyone's like, well, okay, that was one season. Where are you going to take it to season 2? And I thought about this. I was like, you know what? People want to see Darth Maul because Darth Maul is actually alive in that era. If you said it before A New Hope, Darth Maul is out there. We could show a confrontation between him and Darth Maul, and what happens. You know, leave Maul still alive after that confrontation, but have him more bitter and more angry at Kenobi. You could have that. And a third one, the third season, Inquisitors. Who are the Inquisitors? You know, maybe an Inquisitor knows Luke's on the planet, feels that he's a Jedi and wants to kill him, and he has to make sure that Inquisitor cannot leave Tatooine at all costs. You know what I mean? Those are 3 seasons I would go with. You know what I mean? Because end of the day, Vader can't come to Tatooine. So you're restricted on what you could do, but you can work around those restrictions, play with the lore a little, and give the fans what they want, man. But that's just me spitballing. Disney, you can take all those ideas. John, what do you think? John's frozen.
He's frozen.
He's frozen.
He's just trying to take it all in.
He's not frozen. He's just in shock.
yeah. He's like, those are terrible ideas.
You know what? I will say, I mean, myself and Sash had a conversation about this earlier, where I said, I genuinely, even the direction that all of the whole Star Wars legacy is currently in, I don't blame Kathleen Kennedy for the way things are. I say, for me personally, she is, my outlook on it is I say that she made basically 1 to /1.5 questionable decisions, and of those questionable decisions, the one questionable decision she made, if you think about it just on its laurel as a decision, it was probably a really good decision. It just turned out horribly, which was she basically, said, all right, we're going to do a sequel trilogy. Cool. And I mean, obviously, this is what I believed. This is not what I know for a fact, but I feel like she said, we're going to make a sequel trilogy. here's the overall storyline that we want to do, right? Which is a sequel trilogy. We're going to follow new characters, you know. And she basically was like, okay, who are the 3 possible best directors to take this overall story and give them 3 individual parts of it? And it was like, okay, J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, and I forget the final guy, the original final guy.
Colin Trevorrow.
Colin Trevorrow, that's right. Probably went to do that. And they all kind of had a baseline of where they were going to work. J.J. Abrams, you know, he's like, okay, cool. You know what? I'm not going to go for the overhead bicycle kick, smash a goal. This is going to be a gentle tap in. That it's a goal. It's going to get us going. We got Force Awakens. I feel he did that. Then Rian Johnson was like, oh, you know what? Well, like, I don't want to do the same old thing. So I'm going to do what I want to do threw the playbook out the window and was just like, I'm going to do my thing. Now, when he does something by himself, the guy is magical. He's magical. He's playing with magic that makes Harry Potter blush. But you gave him a franchise and you gave him the middle part of a franchise where everything kind of rests on that middle part because you're following on from what's come before you and you're setting up the finale, right? I feel like if you flipped it and Rian Johnson was the guy to do episode 9, it would probably be batshit crazy. But at least then, no matter how crazy and wild it went, you're like, all right, cool. You know what? You could probably accept it more. It's the finale. But you give him the middle ground and he decides to throw everything out the pram. Or, sorry, throw everything out the toy box kind of thing. And it's like, well, shit, where do we go from here? And then you wind up with what we got in episode 9. But, you know, I think like that you can't pin that blame on Kathleen Kennedy 100%. You can give it to her because she's the one who made the decision. But, you know, for argument's sake, if all of us are film fans, all of us love film to a quite high degree, if we had, you know, if somebody was to say, oh, here's this franchise, I want you to make 3, you know, run it with a franchise. Okay, you're going to 3 films, cool. And you're like, you can do what you want. So you say, all right, well, I'm going to hire the 3 best, most entertaining, or the 3 kind of visionary filmmaker, maybe auteurs that I could think of that I can get to do something. You decide, you pick the 3, you pick that 3, and then suddenly the first one gives you a nice setup, and the second one goes mad, and then the third one's like, yo, I'm out. Peace. It was like, I am not following that. I'm out. The blame has to go somewhere. So you're going to be sitting there like fielding questions from your higher ups, and you're like, what the fuck is this shit? And you're supposed to sit there and be like, well, I gave him a guideline to follow and he chose not to. And it was like, but you gave him the guideline and now you look like an idiot because you trusted this person to do something. Whereas, because I think, and we have to remember, if we try and generalize, look at Kathleen Kennedy as like the Star Wars version of Kevin Feige, we're like, no, Kevin Feige dealt with the bullshit beforehand. So when his time, when he got to, you know, expanding the MCU and making it what it is today, he's like, no, I've already had my time with these crazy people who decided they want to just go off the rails. So I know how strict you have to be. Kathleen Kennedy's never had that thing. Do you think she's been producing films for Lucasfilm for how many years? Under the tutelage of how many people? How many different people?
I'm sorry, she's got more than enough experience to know what she was doing with that franchise, and just in terms of how to control it. You know, whether it is 1 director, 3 directors, just having a director doesn't mean they get to write it as well. You know, have your scripts. Yeah. You know, have your writers write all 3 movies, and then they stick to the script. At the end of the day, what Marvel have is they say, okay, you need to get your character from point A to B to C. What potentially you do in the middle, give you some creative license, but you need to get your characters here to there. They didn't have a story. Well, we don't know, but it doesn't appear that they had a story that followed from A to, because so many things contradict and so many questions are opened, answered, and then changed. It seems it's quite evident they didn't know where to go with it. And so unless you had your full trilogy written out, then they've missed the beats. And, you know, that's probably why Edgar Wright left Ant-Man. You know, they had some creative differences, and it's like Marvel's like, no, we needed to go here. And he was like, okay, I'm out. And then they left and they get someone else in. You have to fit the story in the narrative. The directors can be changed because, yeah, they made the visionary part, but it's the story. And that's down.
Well,
that's
what. One second, right? Where I say that I can't fully agree with that is we've seen the concept art of Colin Trevorrow's what he would have done, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's clear there was some roadmap, some blueprint for them to follow, because what he was planning to do, when you see it, you're like, oh, okay, well, that don't fit to what we saw in The Last Jedi, but I could see how you could have possibly got there based on where we finished in Force Awakens.
I think
he had Luke Skywalker. He killed him off. There was nothing.
Well,
they all had to work on it because the films had to come out within a certain period of each other.
Well,
they were starting working on it.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, this is the thing. With the Colin Trevorrow situation, he actually wrote 2 versions of the script. We know of one because that's been leaked.
Yeah.
But originally he had a version where Luke Skywalker was alive and doing his thing. The reason why he left was he wrote a script with Luke being the person. And then they changed his fate in The Last Jedi later in the game, not originally. He wasn't supposed to die originally. And they changed that late in the game. Now, when that happened, when that decision was made, he was told to rechange his script, which he was unhappy with, because it's been documented that Mark Hamill has said that he was very much in Rise of Skywalker in a bigger role when Colin Trevorrow was in charge of that. He'd seen that script, but they had to change it because he's no longer in it anymore. And they changed it to make Leia more a central kind of figure. Then Princess Leia died in real life. And upon that, a couple of days later, Rian Johnson quits the project. Why? He can't make the movie that he wants to do. He spent a lot of months working on one script that he loved and now a second movie that, you know what I mean, he wasn't totally in love with, but you know what I mean, he's the director, he's gonna stick by it. And then he was just like, I don't see what I can do now. Later's drop mic, you know what I mean. That second script was the one that got leaked. Now in terms of JJ Abrams did have a plan. He set it up and he assumed that they would go with those chess pieces. Rian Johnson chose not to, you know. In Neil's defense, you know, she is a great producer. She has produced some of the greatest movies ever made. She's not necessarily a Star Wars, you know, she doesn't know everything about Star Wars. And I won't totally blame her. Like I won't totally blame her, but it does rest on her shoulders. You see, I could only imagine, and this isn't fact, that this is how the conversation probably went when hiring Rian Johnson. You see, if you're a Star Wars fan, and you're in the know, you're probably going to pitch similar kind of pitches. You know what I mean? You're probably going to pitch similar kind of pitches because you know the lore, etc. And then along comes this guy who also is a Star Wars fan, but has his own thing in mind. You know what I mean? And he pitches you something very edgy and something very different compared to everyone else. You know, you ask the questions, can we have this because my boss wants this in there? You know what I mean? I'm not going to say what those are, but you guys can all guess. And he's like, yeah, certainly. Why not? You're going to go with that guy. Do you know what I mean? Because he said the one pitch. He's also proven that he's a fan. Because I'm not going to say that he isn't. You know what I mean? Because I don't know him. You know what I mean? And some of his arguments on Twitter, I remember there was something and someone was saying, where's this, where's that? And then he whooped out where he got it from. I was like, touche. I was like, touche. You know what I mean? I can't argue with that.
It was the forced projection.
Yeah, there we go. And I don't have a problem with that. I thought it was a cool power. But do you know what I mean? He did what he can with that research. You know what I mean? It's like when we
my problem with that force projection is that it kills you whilst doing it. Like that to me is very stupid. Yeah. Because it's you're projecting. It's like you're projecting an image. You're not teleporting yourself. You're projecting a force image. So for you to die from that,
yeah,
seems cheap to me, to be honest.
Yeah, but again,
especially for someone who ain't been using the force for however long Luke was using the force for, right? Like, you just stop using it and then you suddenly turn it on and be like, yeah, I'm gonna use it again. Oh, by the way, it's gonna kill you. Like,
but point being is she made the decision to hire him. And I could see why. I could actually genuinely see why she did. You know what I mean? Because if you hear the same story by XYZ amount of people and someone comes with something left field, you're like, wow, it's refreshing. It's different, you know? So I don't know. In terms of the blame being rested on her, yeah, sure. Because she made the call. And, maybe they should have done more research, but it's done now. It's done now. We can't really do much from that. And only thing is where does it go from here? And I think Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, I may say, like, I've been championing him like since Clone Wars. Okay, he's the perfect guy. And the fact, if you watch the behind the scenes of The Mandalorian on Disney, he's the guy going, I'm not the guy, I'm not the greatest, but what can I learn from you? He's going to turn out to be a great director someday in live action. And, him and Jon Favreau, they know their shit. Mandalorian speaks more in its actions. You know what I mean? And good luck to him. But yeah, I think I'm Star Wars out, man. I'm Star Wars out.
I think the last thing I want to say about Star Wars is, especially the Disney trilogy, like the inconsistency of the films, I like just to put in Kylo Ren, basically. So in The Force Awakens, Kylo Ren is a decent Darth Vader worshipper, basically. Like, he comes up as menacing. He's obviously a Darth Vader fanboy, but you can see that the power that is there, right? And then in The Last Jedi, he basically becomes this person who is really, really hurt about Luke betraying him, right? He wants to destroy the past. He decides to destroy his idol's mask that he wears. He just wants to kill everything, right? And then 2 minutes later in the next film, he decides to fix his mask. He takes the Darth Vader's mask again, and he is again a Darth Vader worshipper. Like, that's just how inconsistent those films were, even in their characters. So I had no hope for that film. I just don't. Why I would want Disney to not do take the Old Republic or Knights of the Old Republic and take that as a inspiration for their next work is because I don't have the trust in Disney to actually, or Lucasfilm for that matter, to adapt characters well anymore. So I would rather them just go out, just try something new, just try a new era that nothing's happened in, just pick a spot and just develop there, basically.
And that's why stuff like Rebels and The Mandalorian works so well, because Star Wars Rebels was like new characters for a new audience, for a younger audience, and they really made characters we loved. And what I love about Rebels is that you don't even have to be a Star Wars fan. You could know nothing, not see the movies and watch that show. You learn about the Force. You learn who the bad guys are. You know what I mean? And it sets its own kind of, with its own characters, it sets its own little part of that universe. And that's why I love that show. And I've said this many times, that to me is the best Star Wars thing Disney has ever done, Star Wars Rebels. Because like you believe in the characters and they're not established, they're brand new people and they respect the lore in that show, and very much so with The Mandalorian, and that's what Star Wars fans want. And you're right, John, we want new shit. We want new characters, new shit.
What's surprising is that those two things are straight Star Wars. Like, you feel the Star Wars coming out
that's
of
right.
them. And they have so many original characters. So yeah, it's just
Yeah.
We really should look at those. Okay.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah. One final thing I say, right? I slightly disagree with you when you say you don't want to see them. I'm like, if I get to see my Darth Bane trilogy, I'm cold.
Just hope they don't ruin it. For all accounts, do it, but do not ruin Darth Bane, please. Don't ruin the era, man.
My guy for good.
Okay, so can we move on? Okay, Borat 2. Sacha Baron Cohen is back as Borat, creating all kinds of mischief in the US in this climate. You know what? I'm real excited because like we're in the Me Too era with inappropriate shit, and Sacha Baron Cohen being let loose in this stuff. It's gonna be some funny ass shit. I guarantee you that.
On that note, would you not have preferred an Ali G? I'm ready for more Ali G. I
see what you're saying.
I see what you're saying.
So long.
Yeah.
So long since we got Ali G. I really thought his next thing would be, I thought he would turn to Ali G and then go to Borat after. But I mean, Borat was one of the most funniest films ever, I feel. So
yeah,
I don't mind Borat, but man, just give me some Ali G.
I would have liked to see some Ali G. Yeah, maybe he's just a bit too old in himself now to play it. I don't know, but to see those kind of interviews again would be fantastic. Borat, I just don't know if he's going to be able to have the same kind of impact he did before, because the Borat character was new. It was, people went into interviews not knowing what was going on, so it will be quite difficult to recreate that. And they had the whole narrative of the Pamela Anderson thing, and that was fine. But it was all the other bits that you went to see the movie for. It was all those other situations. So I would probably rather Borat come back as more of probably like a sketch show, and doing those interviews and bits and pieces rather than try and do a movie narrative. But we'll wait and see. But yeah, as a writer and a talent, he's fantastic.
Am I the only person who weren't really feeling LG?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, the only one.
Well, feeling it. I just wasn't. I saw it and I was like, yeah, I ain't impressed.
Oh man!
But saying that, I loved Borat. I thought that was hilarious. But I just feel like, in this climate, the film wouldn't come out.
But that's why. But you know what? That's why I think it'll work, because he's just such a non-PC guy, man. When he's that character, and the way
it should come out. But I feel like because people are so much more sensitive now than they were back then, and they're much more aware of their sensitivity, that I can literally imagine him like going to film it and getting jumped.
But he did that in the first one. He almost got attacked in the first one. So there's probably all these rallies going on because he's filming at the moment. I saw somebody drive past him, like he was on the road and he was filming. So it's already being filmed now. I'm sure he's going to the rallies and he's doing bits and pieces with the Trump people.
Especially with the election,
because you interview those people and they haven't got a clue. So they wouldn't know who he is. And so he'll get some gold over there. Look at all the news outlets that go and do it, and the comedy sketch writers and stuff like that. They just ask very basic questions and they just get comedy gold. So, and then him being that foreigner character, that's going to be amazing how that plays out. So I think for me, it's only good things.
Well, he's got, I remember with the first one, didn't he get into a lawsuit with them college kids?
They tried to sue him for defamation of character. And when he was at the rodeo, they run him out of there because of what you did with the national anthem. So many things. We love Sacha Baron.
Wow.
Okay, so Scream 5 has found its lead. What's this girl called?
I have no idea. Is she the actual lead?
I'm not too sure. if she's the lead, but Melissa Barrett.
I looked her up, and basically she's a Mexican actress singer, and that is all I can tell you. I don't think she's been in anything in the US or UK or anything like that. She's been in some Mexican TV shows and stuff like that. So I couldn't tell you anything about her.
You can see her in Netflix because she's on this drama about, I think it's called Club something. It's basically about think of it kind of like Dallas or Dynasty. There's a rich family. The dad of the family dies.
Oh my God, my mother's looking at the show, man, right now. I'm not even joking. she's actually looking at all these episodes.
Yeah, and all the kids are trying to. I think they're all trying to like assume power now that the matriarch is or the patriarch is dead, and I think the biggest bargaining chip is which one of them gets to own the football team.
Oh, okay. She'll scream. She'll die. That's it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like,
I'm interested in it because of the fact that she is like Mexican American actress or like Mexican actress. She's been in predominantly Spanish speaking projects. I'm like, it's interesting now because I'm like, is Scream 5 gonna branch out a bit from obviously, like, we all remember, yes, Scream 3 wasn't in Woodsboro, it was in Los Angeles and whatnot, but I'm like, is it going to branch out internationally, so to speak?
It's going to be Make America Great Again supporters killing Mexicans at the border. There you go. I don't know. I'm really looking forward to Scream 5. I think it's a good time to revisit it right now. We did a thing about this previously when it was announced, and I think we're all pretty much on board with it. But yeah, in terms of the casting,
I don't think I was on that podcast because I'm not feeling it.
No, you're not feeling it.
Without Wes Craven,
I came up with a theory about how it might work, but I can't remember what I said about it now. I have to go back and watch the episode.
I think I'm good without it because, without Wes Craven, obviously, yes, I know Wes Craven didn't write Scream, but without Wes Craven, I feel like it's sort of like, all right, Wes Craven is synonymous with so many things. One of those things being Scream. And I'm like, if ever there was a moment where you could say, all right, you know what, we're going to leave this upon your pedestal. We're going to leave this with your altar. I feel like Scream is the thing to leave.
They've already done a TV show, mate. So
I know.
They've already passed that.
Yeah, I know that. But it's like, there's always going to be a difference between a film and TV. Because I know the TV show is connected to Scream.
I have no idea. I have no idea if it's or if it's like completely different characters. I've no idea. I've never watched the TV series.
Like the mask is different. I don't think it has any connection to the films.
I think the Scream TV series is kind of like the slasher TV series. If you've seen that, yeah, it's kind of similar to that. I was shocked that they're making a Scream 5, to be honest. Like,
and a lot of the original cast are coming back. So
yeah. I'll watch it, but how many are they going to do? Seriously?
Yeah.
Just like, let's make some new horror films now. Let's make some new horror villains. But yeah, I'll watch it.
It's all about nostalgia, isn't it? Anybody who's seen the older stuff, they'll come back and watch
Terry. Yeah, I want to see a film with Scary Terry. Well, my Rick and Morty man know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay, so Guillermo del Toro's doing a stop motion animation of Pinocchio for Netflix, starring Kate Blanchett, Ewan McGregor, Tilda Swinton, Ron Perlman, John Turturro, and Christoph Waltz. I know for a fact he's been wanting to do this Pinocchio movie for about 20 years. He wanted to do it live action originally, and I think to switch to animation is probably because he's finding it a lot more interesting and a little bit more accessible to do. But what I've heard, by what I know about this project, it's meant to be a much darker version, which is more in tune with the original tale. Disney were interested like about a decade ago, but then got cold feet when they saw his vision of it. I know they've been talking about this since I was like in fucking college, man. So I'm looking forward to it because it's one of those like projects that's been talked about for years and years. Kind of cements my point that Netflix are willing to take chances on auteurs and stuff, and that's why we get stuff like The Irishman from what's his face, Martin Scorsese and stuff. The stop motion thing intrigues me a bit though. I didn't think he'd go that route with it because by what I remember, it was always supposed to be CGI with live action. But, I guess if he's got a script that he's really passionate, he wants to do, and he's a very passionate filmmaker, it's always interesting to watch, and I'm looking forward to it. What do you guys think?
Anything that this man here wants to make, I'm there for it. Anything you can see the name, anything he does, I'm there for it. Right?
You know it's going to be dark and twisted, right?
Yeah.
You know, the fact that he's like, oh, Ron Perlman, Christoph Waltz, Kate Blanchett. I'm like, bro, hey, you had me at your name. You don't need to entice me anymore. I'm there.
I think it's going to be depending on the stylization of it, whether it's going to attract kids or not. Is it going to be something in the vein of sort of like a Nightmare Before Christmas, or what's it going to look like? Because you've just had the Italian version out in cinemas now, the remake. You got the Disney remake with Tom Hanks, and now you got this one as well. So I think yes, okay, it's got a great list of voice actors, but that won't necessarily draw people in if it doesn't have the right look. So if it's going to be very dark, it's going to appeal to a very narrow market. Pinocchio needs to be for kids, really. So if it's a very dark tale, it might find a struggle on a wider audience, which is why it's going on Netflix. Because it'll be one of those things you can go back and find.
One thing I will agree with you that it's definitely going to have probably going to have a niche audience. Like the talent isn't going to draw it in. Mm-hmm. But I think
depending what it looks like. If it's got a stylization which is accessible to a lot of people and it doesn't look too creepy, then that might be okay. But if it looks very dark and it has a very dark trailer,
Toro, like I can't imagine it being super kid friendly. He is not that guy.
Yeah, right. I think it's the case of he knows his audience. I think that's why he's gone with Netflix to make it, because it was never going to be a cinema release. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think Netflix is definitely the perfect place for it, to be honest. So,
sorry, please continue.
Yeah, because he's been trying to make it, like I said, for about over 20 years now, and I just think Netflix is perfect for it. To be there. And plus, if it does end up being something that gets a lot of acclaim, because he's that kind of director, it being on Netflix will probably generate a wider viewing with people trying to find it. So whereas if it went out in cinema, it probably would have bombed, you know what I mean, and just been this well-reviewed thing, if that makes sense. So I think it's win all round, to be honest, but that's just me personally. Moving on though, really quick to the last thing of the day. Spider-Man, lots of Spider-Man news. More importantly about the spin-off. Sony has hired an actress, Olivia Wilde, to direct Spider-Woman for Sony, and director J.C. Chandor to direct the Kraven the Hunter movie. Now, Olivia Wilde, she did Booksmart last year or the year before. Really, really funny movie. Coming of age high school movie about two girls in high school in their last year, and exams are coming up and all kinds of stuff. And they're two nerds that like literally revised and studied, did things by the book. They've not had fun. They haven't done any of this high school fun. And literally it's about them just going, fuck this shit, I'm doing whatever, you know what I mean? And it's a really good film. I really thought it was a good film and really well directed. Olivia Wilde definitely has a talent behind the camera. In terms of Spider-Woman, why not? But I know very little, and we all know very little because this is all the information we're really getting at the moment. My concern is that it is Sony, mainly because of what happened with Venom. Venom 2 still up for, negotiations. Maybe Marvel might have more of an input in, because it looks like both kids are sharing their toys at the moment. So I really don't know what to feel at the moment regarding this project, other than I trust her as a filmmaker. I trust her as an actress more than a filmmaker. But do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not been confirmed though. It's Spider-Woman.
Oh, really?
No. Everyone's assumed it because basically they said that she's doing a film for Sony,
right?
Centric, and she put like this little spider web up on her Twitter when she reposted. Right. So it could be Spider-Gwen. It could be that Madam Web movie that we've been going around. Because actually, Spider-Woman, the character movie rights, is actually still with Marvel.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it's one of these weird characters where it's kind of a bit of a crossover. Like Marvel owns the movie rights, but then like Sony owns the trademark of it, and it's just like this weird thing. So what they're talking about is if it is Spider-Woman, they would actually probably go hand in hand with the Tom Holland Spider-Man universe. So he can actually be a part of Marvel as well. So it might be one of those more crossover characters. But otherwise it could be Spider-Gwen, so a live action version of that, which the character did so well out of Into the Spider-Verse. So who knows what it's going to be? But yeah, it's all speculation at the moment. But yeah, I'd say it's probably likelihood is Spider-Woman or Spider-Gwen. But that Madam Web movie's been knocking around a little while.
Oh man, I hope it's not that. But I mean, if it's Spider-Woman and Marvel have a hand in it, then it's going to be all right. I have less to worry about because Kevin Feige's on that shit. That guy could bring like a fucking Howard the Duck movie at this point, and it'll probably make $1 billion just on the fact that it's Kevin Feige. He'd hire the right talents and shit. But yeah, as you said, if it's outside of Spider-Woman now and it was like strictly Sony, I'd like it to be good, whatever they do, but I'm going to be cautious because I've seen Venom. It sucked. And yeah, that's all I've got to say about that. In terms of Kraven the Hunter, I mean, I'd much rather see him as a villain first before he gets a spin-off, but maybe we're getting that in Spider-Man 3 because that's the only way I could see them wrapping up what they did after Far From Home. Because if you told me that Kraven was a villain in Spider-Man 3, I'm balls deep in. And if this was a spin-off to come from that, that'd be cool.
That makes sense.
Because that would make sense. Because I felt with them revealing his identity at the end, putting Kraven to come hunt Spider-Man, so to speak. And then obviously they established Dimitri in Far From Home, and if you didn't know, he's looking a little bit like Kraven, aka brothers. You've got Chameleon make him, he framed Peter Parker, boom, we've got our out, happy ever after, Kraven movie. But you know, they're probably not going to go that way, and who knows, man? I don't know. I want to think that they do go that way because that would be awesome, but I've just speculated there and that's not fact.
Yeah, because I think Sony's still trying to shoe in Venom and Carnage into Tom Holland's Spider-Verse. So, you know, who knows what will happen in, you know, Venom 2.
Yeah, and I mean, what's his name? J.C. Candor. Like, I like his films. Most Violent, and Triple Frontier. They're good movies, man. Oscar Isaac is fantastic in both of those films. And
I think he might be his Kraven.
Yeah, mate. Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Oscar Isaacs could. Oscar Isaacs could do a good Kraven. Fuck, I can see it now a little bit. He'd make a better Kraven than he did Apocalypse, but I still, but you know what? I don't blame him for that because I reckon if they CGI'd him and made him look like fucking Apocalypse, he would have acted that shit out the park.
Yeah, true.
But you know, you only give him what fucking the directors give you, you know. But you know what? I never thought of Oscar Isaac, but yeah, you know what? Why not? But personally, I think Jason Momoa is kind of the obvious choice.
Yeah,
he would have been the obvious choice for Kraven the Hunter. But I don't know, John. What are your thoughts on these projects? And these things?
I think on the whether Spider-Woman, Spider-Gwen, whatnot, I think it's, in my opinion, I think they're leaning towards the Spider-Gwen in the Spider-Man animated film. I think that would just be natural for Sony just to make bank off all of the Spider-Men, Spider-Womans that they introduced in that film. That makes perfect sense to me, to be honest. So yeah, I think it's going to be Spider-Gwen, and then you can do like another Miles film as well whenever you want, and then you have like all of those different Spider-Men in Spider-Verse. So with the Kraven one, I do find it weird that out of all the Spider-Man villains that Kraven gets to film, like, I just think there's just way better Spider-Man villains. I know Venom came out way earlier, but I would have rather, I would have rather Green Goblin. I would have even rather a Hobgoblin film, to be honest. I think they're just better characters than Kraven, but Kraven's a good character. Interested to see what they do with it, but it wouldn't be my first choice of a Spider-Man villain getting his own film.
Of course, we've got Morbius as well coming out. Forget about that from time to time. Morbius, we don't know how that's going to fit in. Is that a Tom Holland universe one? Is it going to be part of Carnage and Venom?
I like Morbius because you can bring Blade into Morbius as well, if you wanted to. So yeah, I do like Morbius.
Come on, Disney, just buy Sony, man. Just get it done.
I don't think they're legally allowed to now because
Monopoly.
They Fox, Monopoly.
Yeah,
because
they just everything anyway. To be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
I think they should just give them the right. I think they should buy the rights back of Spider-Man. Just give them $1 billion, and just take the rights of Spider-Man back. Just here's your money. Go, just do what you want with it.
I think Sony would do something as stupid as like, okay, we can sell you the movie rights if you like give us exclusive like game rights like forever, like just infinite game rights.
See,
after the last Spider-Man game, that was go right ahead.
Yeah.
But this is the thing though. Spider-Man as an IP by himself is worth a hell of a lot more in its weight than gold to Sony than it is Disney. You see, for Sony, that is their number one franchise.
Yeah, it is.
Hands down. Look at the numbers on Far From Home and everything else that they've done. Spider-Man, even the worst Spider-Man, the less than amazing Spider-Man movies, okay? They didn't make the monies, but you know what? They made the bank. You know what I mean? Regardless. I mean, it may not have been the money they expected, but you know what? In terms of everything else that they own, Spider-Man as an IP is so valuable to them. They're never going to give it up without a fight. And even, you know what? Even if Disney offered the money for it, they can't afford to lose it because Sony in recent years has been in real trouble, you know, in their movie division, and Spider-Man's been the only thing that's kept them afloat. You know what I mean? So I think that's also why they're more willing to do the deal with Marvel now, because of like where they are. If that makes sense.
I mean,
and
I totally get where you're coming from. It'd just be amazing that if like Marvel could buy back sort of like the movie rights in terms of live action, but Sony kept your animated and your game and stuff like that. You know, it just. But yeah, like you said, it's just too valuable to them.
Yeah, because it's literally when you think of IPs that they own, and this goes into why they're being aggressive with a lot of these IPs. Outside of Spider-Man, you have Men in Black, you have Ghostbusters, you have RoboCop, you have Bad Boys, and you have running out of stuff, but whatever else. But all the ones I just mentioned, these are the IPs that they're actively trying to make sequels of. You know what I mean? And as you can tell, like,
I mean, look what the last Men in Black did.
Oh man, that was. You know what? Ideally, with Men in Black, they should have just paid Will Smith whatever his weight in gold is. Pay fucking. This is the problem with Men in Black. It's too expensive a franchise for them to make with those two as a lead, mainly because they're both out of contract and they can only really afford one of them. And one of them out of the two, you could get Will Smith, but getting Tommy Lee Jones, you know what I mean? You could only get Tommy Lee Jones to cameo. And ideally, like, that was the whole point of the last movie. The last movie, the only reason why you had Josh Brolin in as the younger version of him is because they were like desperate to get Tommy Lee Jones in it in some capacity. So they got him to cameo rather than be a full lead. Now, personally, if that was up to me, I'd be like, cool, Tommy Lee Jones, you're passing the torch, just like cameo in the first 5 minutes, you're dead, man. And then Will Smith has to get a partner. That would be how I'd carry on Men in Black. And then you could have, as long as Smith is getting his monies, contract him for 5, 6, 7 films, you know what I mean? And then just have him.
Will Smith guarantees you a certain amount of box office.
He does.
It's like, if you're going to take Men in Black as a franchise seriously, make him a producer, give him what he wants, and then hire a new lead, you know, he's the older guy now, younger guy for the next generation, and you've got shit for the next 10 years. Ghostbusters, well,
I'm looking forward to the new one.
I am looking forward to the new one, but again, we've got to see what the new one is to build off it. The last one, wow. Yikes. Wow. See Ken's review on it. It's I think it's still trending. Because it's probably one of our Ken's highest viewed videos ever in his life, man. Because like geez, like I saw it with him, and boy, RoboCop. Let's not go there. And you know what? again, I think Sony just needs to. Will Smith is their superhero because you know what the highest grossing movie is this year? Bad Boys for Life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will Smith actually turned down Men in Black, and it was a phone call from Steven Spielberg that changed his mind.
Yeah.
Because he only literally just done Independence Day, and he was like, "No, I don't want to be known as like the alien guy." And Spielberg called him up and was like, "You need to do this." And he was like,
Yes.
"Okay, Spielberg," and he couldn't say no to him. So
Yeah, Spielberg needs to
he
get
produced it, didn't he?
Yeah, Spielberg needs to get on the phone. He needs to get on the phone now and save the franchise, bro. So, but yeah, I guess that's it for today, guys.
Wow, that was a lot.
That's a lot, man. It was a lot. Well, I think we've gone over as well, but you know, that's inevitable. Where can we find you guys, Neil?
You can find me on Instagram at Shoot for Moon Pics.
Ken?
You can find me on Twitter at Kenan Talks Film. That's Kenan. Kenan, not Keenan.
And John? Want to pick
you
the
can
channel?
call me. You can catch me on Twitter, Margin John, right? But also I have a YouTube channel. It's the Kryler Run channel. So if you type in Kryler Run, you'll find me.
Cool. And I guess that's a wrap. This is Zedos Gang, and we're out.
Peace.
Go on, do it. Come on.
I am the man that killed Jamie Lannister.